getting hotter and hotter, but still we're dry, and still the humidity is not crazy. Sunshine will dominate today with a high temperature, probably about 94 today, low tonight 72. Then how about upper 90s on Friday and Saturday with more sun? But over the weekend, the humidity will start to increase, triple-digit heat indices, and widely scattered storms by Sunday. From the AMS Weather Conference in Myrtle Beach, Rich Thomas for Blue Water Broadcasting.
Do you have big plans this summer? Dive into summer with an ASE Credit Union vacation loan. Whether you've got a trip coming up, projects at home, or just need a little extra cash, we've got you covered. So don't put your plans on hold. Visit yourasecu.com or stop by and see us today.
1819 News.
The Southern Baptist Convention narrowly rejected a proposal to formally ban churches with women pastors. The proposal to change the Constitution received 61% support but failed to achieve the required two-thirds majority. Despite the rejection, the denomination's official doctrinal statement will still limit the role of pastor to men, and the SBC retains the right to oust churches that have women pastors within that denomination. The vote reflected ongoing debates within the SBC about gender roles and church leadership. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
Where I was living was not a great place to live anymore. I began to pray for a place to go, praying for all of these things that a 9-year-old would want. I wanted horses, big house with a bunch of people my age. I wanted parents. I wanted a mom and a dad. Before I even prayed it, the Lord had already answered my prayer with the Big Oak Ranch. Who would that 9-year-old be if she never came to the Big Oak Ranch? I would be trying to fight for survival instead of fighting to break a cycle.
Big Oak Ranch, a Christian home for children needing a chance.
Dothan police say a shooting this week narrowly missed a sleeping child in their home. Xavion Nelson is now facing charges for firing into an occupied building after surveillance video confirmed that Nelson was in the neighborhood at the time of that shooting. Nelson is also accused of breaking into vehicles in that area. John Shell, a graduate of St. Paul's Episcopal School in Mobile, received the National Eagle Scout Award for his Eagle Scout project. Shell was inspired by a fishing trip where he and his friends caught no fish. Shell ended up building and deploying over 100 artificial reefs across the Gulf Coast in order to support local marine life. The University of South Alabama will continue his project. This past Tuesday, Shell was also honored with an Exceptional Citizenship Award from the city of Mobile. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
Honey, wake up.
What?
I think something's burning.
I don't smell anything.
I'm gonna go check.
Each year, over 65,000 American homes suffer a fire due to an electrical problem. Is your home safe? You can't be sure unless you call Crosby Electric, your exclusive provider of Current Safe, the world's foremost home diagnostic system. Crosby Electric will send a specially trained electrician to your home using high-tech equipment. They'll check your hidden wiring, panel box, light switches, and electrical outlets to make sure your home is safe.
Well, it appears that we found the culprit. Faulty wiring.
Oh, I should have had it checked.
Just be thankful everyone's okay.
For an in-home no-obligation assessment, visit crosbyelectric.com. Don't just think it's safe, know it's safe.
Know you'll be safe.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's News and Views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Hey, listen, I don't mean to be telling tales out of school, but there's a feller in there who'll pay you $10 if you sing into his hand. I'm not here to make a record, you dumb cracker. They broadcast me out on the radio.
Stop playing with it.
Joey Clark.
Welcome into News and Views in the afternoon, or as we're calling this show online, Joey Clark Live. And, well, we got a packed show today. Again, the mayor of Montgomery, Mayor Stephen Reed, will be here in the 2 o'clock hour, I believe. Looking forward to that discussion. And I know a lot of people have been having this discussion about crime in Montgomery. and what is going on in our city and how to prevent it, how to stop the bleeding literally and figuratively. And so I look forward to seeing the mayor. We haven't talked since January. Now, I will say, Eddie, I've said this before in these airwaves, and Eddie Bader, my co-host, is here. How you doing?
Doing good.
That in January, I don't think you were here, the mayor came on the show, and I asked him, first question was, what do you want to accomplish in the second term? You're just reelected.
Right.
And he said, right out of the gate, without pulling any teeth, we got to get this homicide rate down. So I think the man is focused on it. To me, it's more like what happened with the chief that we just let go.
Okay.
What mistakes were made with that hire? Why did morale continue to go downhill? Why are officer levels where they're at right now? What is this $6 million crime prevention program that is modeled off other bigger cities in this nation of ours? And just some basic discussions about how policing can be done, how crime can be reduced, and who's responsible in all this. So I look forward to the conversation. Again, 2 o'clock, Mayor of Montgomery, Stephen Reed. But it broke, I believe Sky Mosley did a report here for Blue Water News.
Yeah.
For News Talk News here, that a bill was filed by State Representative Reed Ingram and I also believe Will Barfoot, State Senator Barfoot, on a potential state takeover or intervention into municipal police departments.
I think a lot of people are interested in that, Joey.
And so I actually was able to get a copy of the bill. And here's what it essentially lays it out, is that the Attorney General or the governor would be authorized to appoint an interim police chief of certain municipal police departments.
Okay.
And it also provides procedures and requirements for a municipality with an interim chief. So there's the question of what triggers this.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to first, whether it's the AG or the governor, review the relevant and pertinent federal, state, local crime stats.
All right.
So see what the trend is.
Okay.
Determining that the number of law enforcement officers employed by the municipality's police department is 30 or more % less than the average number of law enforcement officers employed by that department for the preceding 10 years.
Oh, 10 years. Okay.
Yeah, so you take the 10-year average, and if you're 30% or more underneath that average, that's a trigger.
That's a trigger, okay.
The AG or governor also has to consult with the DA of the circuit in which the municipality is located, consult with the sheriff of the county the municipality is located, consult with victims of crime committed within the municipality, and the interim police chief will serve under the authority at the pleasure of his or her appointing authority. So it will be either the AG or the governor. It would not be subject to the authority of the mayor, city council, or other official of the municipality.
That's interesting.
Yes. The interim police chief will serve until the AG or governor, in consultation with one another, determines that a particular and ongoing threat to public safety no longer exists within the municipality after satisfying all of the actions required, as we said, with the trigger. The interim police chief will have a salary paid from funds of the operating account of either the AG or the governor.
Okay.
Though it seems in at least the copy I'm seeing, and the way I understand this, folks, this is to get the conversation going. I don't think a special session's on the horizon by any means.
All right.
This is not something that's going to happen in the next month or two. It'll maybe happen next session.
Okay.
So this is sort of an open bid, an open process. Let's get the conversation going. Is this something the state needs to do? Because it's not just Montgomery, where we reside, or at least I reside, where we sit right now, that is having a shortage of officers. You see it in all major
across the
cities.
state.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and also the sheriff can be appointed as the interim chief. The interim chief would then, but the sheriff would then be capped at, he can get paid more, like he's getting his normal amount as a sheriff, and it can be paid up to $75,000 more if the sheriff is appointed and takes the job as interim chief. Of course, the interim chief would have to give updates to the council and the mayor on what they're doing.
All right.
And it seems like there is a bit of a recoupment clause that this would put it back on the cost of the city. If all the measures are made, circuit court finds it's followed the law that's being proposed here, will actually recoup cost from the city. to replenish the AG or the governor's
Operating
funds.
Okay.
And of course, there are teeth in this too. The city is required to continue to fund the police department in a manner and amount commensurate with the average of the 5 fiscal years immediately preceding the appointment of an interim chief. So you can't start, docking how much you're putting into policing.
Yeah.
And you also have to maintain and form any active or prospective agreement, duty, interest in property, or obligation necessary for the police department to, at a minimum, maintain a level of efficacy and operation commensurate with the average of the years immediately preceding the interim chief's appointment. So essentially, you got to keep on doing.
Keep your staff.
And if you don't do this, you will not receive any funds, grants, or appropriations from the state of Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's been filed and proposed. Again, I think it's an opening of a conversation.
Yeah. I think it's a conversation that needs to be had.
Right. I would want more clarification on what exactly would an interim chief's goal be. Like, is the question here, we just put in an interim chief so he can have all the powers of chief? He hires, fires, changes policies. Yeah. Like, what exactly are the powers of an interim chief? This does not lay that out in the current language. But again, this is, I think, an opening bid and ask. So my first blush at this is it seems reasonable. I do wonder, people will argue, well, the cities are having trouble finding officers. What's the difference is going to be if the AG or governor appoints an interim chief? How are you going to find more officers? And there are a lot of folks who make the argument it is not a money thing. And in fact, here in Montgomery,
I'm not one of them people.
There's plenty of money budgeted for a much larger force than we currently have.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are folks that argue it's not a money thing, it's a culture thing. There is something about lack of morale. There's something about people not wanting to work at these particular departments.
Well, living. I mean, I think their schedule, somebody that used to work a hellish schedule, their schedule, what kind of life do you have when you're working 12-hour days, 2 and 3 at a time, and then on your day off, you're expected to pull somewhere else? That's right. I mean, it sounds silly, but as somebody that used to do that on a regular, that's very taxing. And if I had the opportunity to take a similar job with similar pay, and that was the only difference, I'd do it all day long.
Right. And how creative can an interim chief get? And the folks, of course, I'd want to ask about this is these authorities you're giving to the governor and AG. What does the current attorney general, was the current governor in the office there for both, think of this?
Yeah, that's a good thought, too.
Because that's a pretty big responsibility to take over and appoint an interim chief. I would love to know what the sheriff's office here in Montgomery or other concerning counties, but again, we're here in Montgomery, what they think of this idea. And we'll see where it goes from there, but it's
do you know
out there.
Are there other counties on the radar? I mean, we live here, so we're very familiar with this. Are there other counties on the radar that you know of that kind of having the same situation?
Yeah,
okay.
Apparently so.
Okay.
With a lack of officers.
Okay.
And it is a national problem. And this is one thing I wonder. I don't think we started, there were literally defund the police things going on, but not everywhere.
Not everywhere.
And so you have to wonder what changed. What changed? And I think what changed was the reaction to, well, the summer of George Floyd.
Yeah, that was a big part of it.
A huge part of it. I remember here, the mayor was brand new in the mayor's office. What did he put out? The 8 can't wait. 8 policies we had to change. Many of them were already in place.
Right.
So he didn't go full on defund by any means, to Mayor Reed's credit.
But
so
he didn't defund.
Right.
We have had a steadily decrease. So
exactly.
Why? You can not defund, and maybe that was he didn't do it because that was starting to get negative press attention.
Right.
But we can just not hire.
Well, and you think at first I thought, well, maybe there was something wrong with Chief Finley.
Okay.
Which Mayor Reed inherited Chief Finley.
Give him that.
Okay, and then Finley is kicked out.
Fired.
We hire a new chief, Darrell Albert.
Yep.
Well, and I was like, okay, we got a new captain here, or new chief. Let's lead here on this, new boss.
Yeah.
Let's see what he can do.
We gave him that.
And didn't he talk about a lot of this community policing stuff when we interviewed the man?
Yep.
And yet now he is gone. And I still don't understand what exactly was the problem there? What was the, and I'm not just talking about potential scandals, say sexual harassment and workplace morale. Why did we continue to bleed officers and have a reduction in those in that short time period Chief Albert was around? It's a lot of questions.
It's a lot of questions, but I don't know if anybody wants to answer those questions honestly. Everybody's going to have their political spin
we need
on
to.
it. Oh, I agree 100%.
Because, David Thrasher, Dr. Thrasher was on these airwaves with Greg Budell earlier in the week.
Right.
He's been blasting out all these emails. And one thing that I fully agree with here is he's like, we got to stop it with the pointing fingers. Of course, good doctor, you do know politics will come into play in all this. People's ideological priors will come into play with all this. And when you're talking about how do you present yourself in media, there's going to be opposition. It's just
100%.
That's how, unfortunately, things work. But it should be something that is, at the end of the day, bipartisan. For me, one thing that is important is the laws, yes, we pass, but we call it law and order for a reason.
Right.
And order, I think, comes before any law. You can pass all the laws on the books, but if you aren't able to enforce them in a consistent way, also a humane way, those laws don't mean anything.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
So order means you need peace and order on your streets. And this is something I hope to ask the mayor about with the crime prevention programs he was suggesting as we get into the teeth of it. Because if that means you have special units in your police department and other resources that are tracking gang activity, that's a good thing. Trying to resolve it, say people who are adjacent to the gangs or caught up in it and kind of don't want to be, but that's the world they're in. You can work with folks like that. Or you deal with the most serious way with the actual literal gang members. Because you can't have gangs running even a small part of your city.
No.
And what I've been saying, and I think this is right, in every big city in America, most of the problems are caused by 1% or less of the population in certain areas of those cities. And so if you focus on those areas, along with, yes, a very serious approach to gang violence, the drug trade, these sorts of things, you don't let it fester. That could help. Of course, I'm no law enforcement official. I'm no law enforcement expert. These are just the things I can read in my spare time.
Right.
But something has to be done.
Well, when you mentioned the 1%, and we all agree that it is a very small majority or small minority of people in Montgomery causing trouble in most of these cities. But when you hear them about the crime, you hear the arrest, you don't hear them that they've been released. But later on, you see that same name in the paper where they've been rearrested while waiting on trial. Kind of makes you lose faith in the system.
Right.
Why is he out? Why? I understand.
Well, and
as bail things change.
And this might be more on the law side of things.
Yes.
Again, you need order, which means you need a police force that can essentially cause deterrence, especially in the hot spots, the trouble spots.
But you got to know if you do something wrong, you get arrested. You're not going to be out in 24 hours.
Right.
That needs to go away.
And so some ideas are you make the bail companies liable for who they bond out.
I know this is controversial, but I'm about putting the judges liable because look at the decisions that keep coming down.
Yeah. Well, and then another one is the revolving door in particular with juveniles.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so is there a way to reach those kids at an earlier age before they do something truly heinous, instead of just within a few hours putting them back on the doorstep of their so-called parents' home? A lot of complicated issues in this, but you need order before all these ideas, all this money we could spend. If you don't first have order and peace on your streets, it means nothing.
Exactly.
So 272-9228 if you want to jump in on the discussion. Again, that's 334-272-9228. Let's go to line one. You're on there. Who's this?
Hey, Joey, it's Bill.
Hey, Bill.
I love Rudy.
Say that again, Bill.
But I just see this as a whole different problem. And basically giving a mayor and a city an excuse to say, I'm washing my hands of it. If the mayor can't conduct business,
Bill, you're breaking up, man.
Yeah, we're only
like
hearing
I'm only
every-
hearing every
every
other
other
word.
Bill.
How about this, Bill? Call us back because we really aren't hearing you. But call us right back. 272-9228. Well, I'll say this about the politics of it. The mayor is the mayor.
He's the man in charge.
He was just reelected. So we'll see what he has to say this afternoon. Y'all can go on YouTube and watch. I believe it was on June the 4th that the mayor was back at the city council meeting and was addressing kind of a lot of these issues that the community was talking about at council meetings and elsewhere. And I do know there is a, like any problem that troubles society, especially big ones, there's always a question of where do you start the timeline if we're going to go and do a history lesson on this thing. And this applies to crime in cities and other pathologies society-wide. It applies to, like, Israel and Palestine. Like, all my libertarian friends want to give a history lesson on every foreign policy thing under the sun. And often it is worthwhile to know where you're going. You need to know where you've been.
Sure.
History is valuable in that way.
Yeah.
But if you just go back in history to assign blame, like without any like plan of action, okay, like Israel and Palestine, what are you going to do now? Some folks might come up with something. But that's where we're at in Montgomery, because you go through the long history of Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
You could lay at the feet of what happened with education. You could lay at the feet of white flight. You could lay at the feet of so many things. But we're here where we are today. And it needs to be solved. And when I see, and I'm not the only one, police department just force levels down, how much they are, you are lacking a basic deterrent and the order part of law and order.
Yep.
Especially now when we see the targeting of the Hispanic community. We still haven't found the people who did that triple homicide.
Yep.
Some of the city councilors have come together, put out a $25,000 reward for any leads on that, which makes me even more suspicious of like who the hell has been doing this, not just the triple homicide, but all the targeting of the Hispanic community.
Right.
And what is that inviting in?
Yeah.
So we shall see. Yes. If you want to jump in on it, 334-272-9228. This part of the program, brought to you by Josh and Leslie Ryder there at Dillon Rings. There's a meme going online right now.
Yeah.
Like, what's your favorite shape of jewelry? And you know what's trending?
What's that?
Pear shape.
I can see that.
Yeah, it is lovely.
I can see that.
And what I love is pear shape is not only great on jewelry, but on many other things.
Yes, it is, Joey.
Indeed, it is. In fact, maybe you want to put some pear-shaped jewelry on it.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think it's a grown man thing to do.
I think it is.
Or it's a grown woman thing to do. And the beautiful thing there at Dillon Rings is they are a full-service jewelry shop. So if you want to go in there and say, hey, I want a pear-shaped ring or pendant necklace, of course Josh Ryder can do that for you.
Or if you want that manly man ring, especially for Father's Day.
Father's Day coming up?
I'm telling you, that ring still got my attention. That is a man's ring, that's for sure.
Well, and if you go to Dillon Rings' Facebook page, today they are celebrating Josh's 30 years of exceptional craftsmanship.
Oh, wow.
In the world of jewelry repair. He's been doing it for 3 decades, folks. From the river region to beyond, his expertise is shown through in every piece entrusted with him. It's true. Like, whether it's custom design or he's maybe updating a piece of yours you inherited, or he's just cleaning something up. Yeah, resetting stones, giving it a polish so it shines and shimmers like brand new. But Josh, the man has a keen eye for detail and a passion for perfection, and he's become a go-to for stores and individuals seeking top-notch repair. So other jewelers will go to him.
They seek him out.
He's that good.
Yeah.
So here's to many more years of brilliance and beauty in the art of jewelry restorations. So, by the way, they're closed today through Saturday. They're going to do some stuff. But we just wanted to say happy 30-year anniversary, Josh. The man is not just an artist. He's kind of a mad scientist. And at the end of the day, he's a great guy, great local business owner, and he's a good person to know as a friend. So y'all check out Dylan Rings today. You can always go to their Facebook page or go to dylanrings.com. But I really encourage you to stop by. Do it next week. They're at 119 Brown Springs Road, right here in Montgomery, just off Atlanta Highway. I tend to remember it. It's where the old Fun Zone used to be, where I used to work. And be sure to tell Josh and Leslie Ryder that, well, Joey and Eddie, the Solos on the Radio, sent you.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Summers are fun, so how do you make this summer really stand out? You drive into summer in a new Toyota from Toyota of Montgomery. Make it the most memorable and the most fun summer ever with exceptional offers on the 2024 Toyota Corolla. Now just $207 a month. Or the hot-selling new 2024 Camry, only $285 a month. And the fun for everyone new RAV4, just $315 a month. You don't have to drive in your old car anymore. Toyota of Montgomery is paying up to $5,000 overbook value for your trade-in, so you can have the most exciting summer you've ever had. These hot deals on new Toyotas won't last. Drive with the best at Sutherland Automotive. Everybody wins. So get to Toyota of Montgomery today. Online at toyotamontgomery.com. Part of the Sutherland Automotive Group. Corolla LE TSRP 23,923. Camry LE TSRP 30,703. RAV4 LE 31,173. 12,000 miles per year for 36 month lease with $499 due at signing. $0 security deposit with approved credit. Excessive wear, tear, and mileage will affect trade value plus tax tag title $995 plus approved credit and 7/1/2024.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-457-6060. That's 1-800-457-6060. Or go to SelectQuote.com. 1-800-457-6060. That's 1-800-457-6060.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
Rich Thomas weather brought to you by H&H Carpets, where you will find a complete line of Mohawk carpet with exceptionally clean, smart strand fiber. It's always available and ready to be installed. H&H Carpets, across from Walmart on the Atlanta Highway.
Rich Thomas weather.
Hi, everybody. Alabama is getting hotter and hotter, but still we're dry, and still the humidity is not crazy. Sunshine will dominate today with a high temperature, probably about 94 today. Low tonight, 72. Then how about upper 90s on Friday and Saturday with more sun? But over the weekend, the humidity will start to increase, triple-digit heat indices, and widely scattered storms by Sunday. From the AMS Weather Conference in Myrtle Beach, Rich Thomas for Blue Water Broadcasting.
CB&S Bank has a long history of stability and a legacy of serving our community's needs for generations since we began in 1906. At CB&S Bank, we're here for you. All loans subject to credit approval, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
We get Montgomery talking 24 hours a day. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Let's go right to the phones. I think we got Bill back on a clear connection. Hey, Bill. Sorry about that earlier.
That's okay. I told Eddie I restarted my phone. I cut off my Bluetooth, And so whatever it did was, maybe it fixed it.
Something worked.
Amen.
Yep.
But what I was saying is I love Regan Ingram, and I love the fact that he's trying to help find a solution.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're offering another excuse for it not to work.
What do you mean?
Well, if you take it out of the hands of the mayor and you take it somewhat off the plate of city business, then if the mayor can't do his job, you know what Donald J. Trump would say? You're fired.
But we don't have that ability.
If you can't conduct city business and do the best thing for the city that you represent, you don't need to be in the office. I mean, that's just the way it is. And the people of the city need to raise up and say, look, 2.5 years ago, how many of our veterans were shown the door because they wouldn't take the jab?
Yep.
How many of those were military police? How many of those had the ability in the DOS to be police? They could have not only got all they wanted, they could have stocked up more than they needed, and they still can. You can defund the police without saying you're defunding the police. You just don't hire no police, and you let attrition handle it.
Well, this
And
is
I think
this
that-
is one approach. I mean, you could ask for the state to have essentially recall mechanisms in place for municipalities. Hey, and even at the state level, can we
Right.
recall a governor?
I don't know. Know if they'll go for that, Joey.
And I'm not picking on you, Sugar. I just hope you're doing well at this point.
It gets back to the people that elected Stephen Reed need to have a long talk with the person in the mirror and go, what were you thinking? He didn't do a good job the first term. What are the chances of him doing a good job the second term when he's a lame duck mayor? But you know what? He never misses a flight to Washington, D.C. when they're doing anything up there. He spends about as much time out of his office as he does in it. And I'll give him another solution. Those 5 or 6 people that travel with him that are his protection, if he ain't man enough to walk around this city by himself, does he need to be the mayor of the city? I'll be honest with you, I used to see Todd Strange out all the time. He didn't have a protective group with him. I saw Bobby Bright around the city all the time. He never had a protective group around him. Do you think Emery Farmer needed one?
Well, Emery was pretty locked and loaded, ready to go himself.
Well, you're the mayor of the city. Don't you think you ought to be? I mean, Stephen Reed is the leading legal authority in Montgomery. You can put as many police chiefs under him as you want to, but at the end of the day, he's the guy. And the guy needs 5 or 6 people to stand behind him. He ain't mayor.
Well,
He
I
don't need to be
appreciate the call. I got a few others rolling in, Bill. Thank you, sir.
Y'all have a great day.
See you, Bill.
Let's go to line 3. You're on there. Who's this?
Simpler days.
Hey, Simpler days.
Well, the last caller wasn't right. Jim Robinson, the mayor before Emery, didn't have. I got hired under him. He didn't have security detail. Emery started the security detail when they shot his car up on Allendale because he shutting down the massage parlors and prostitution at the bookstore downtown. So that's where it started. And every mayor since then has had security detail. But the reason I called was yesterday, the good council member is doing just what everybody else is doing. He pointed his finger to Birmingham and said, well, Birmingham's having the same problem. You know, they're supposed to have close to 1,000 and they've only got 500. Well, you know why? Because they've got a social justice mayor. And the same thing is going on with the FOP in Birmingham, trying to plead their case to the mayor. This is the same thing that's going on in Montgomery. It's not going on in Shelby County, which has got one of the best law enforcement agencies in the state, along with Montgomery County Sheriff's Department. Why isn't it going on in those two agencies? Why do they have a full complement of officers? The reason is simple.
Yeah.
Because the county commission allows the sheriff to run those agencies. And he doesn't have to worry, the sheriff doesn't have to worry about the county commission because he's an elected official, and he can do the heck what he wants to. But this finger pointing that we've got into in Montgomery, I mean, it's just bad. And somebody's got to stand up and say, you know what? We are a blue city, and the mayor is a social justice warrior, and he doesn't want arrest, enforcement, or accountability. But he will say, I want to save city. But how do you get that? Any comment?
Well, my point is what I said at the beginning of the show. You need the order part of law and order before you can have all these arguments over laws the state's doing. Where's the actual deterring force that enforces these things, has a presence? If in his mind, crime prevention is you have special units that are focusing on the gang violence, I think that's a good idea. If in some cases, I don't think it's a bad thing to reach out and try to find kids early to help them with how they're living in life. Not immediately go into the gun or immediately getting upset over things, because that is a mentality. If I don't go after them, they're going to come after me. So there's all sorts of ways, but you can't have all that other stuff, the sort of therapeutic liberal approach, if you don't have the basic enforcement and deterrent.
Right. And community policing and all that stuff is good when you got a full complement. But when you're hemorrhaging, Joe, when you are bleeding out, then you've got to do something right now. They had a meeting the other day with the Attorney General and Chief of the Montgomery Police Department, Lee, and other agencies, and they were talking about running some details. And they want to help them, help them out, run some details in Montgomery. And they asked the chief where were the hot spots, where they need to start. And the first thing out of his mouth was not that, well, I'm going to run this by City Hall. I'm going to have to find out if we've got enough folks to do this. First thing out of his mouth, Joey, was, well, I don't think we have enough cars. My gosh, that's the nuts and bolts. You don't have enough pencils for school? You don't have enough police cars and this crap they're feeding about, well, the chips, the chips. We got back on the chips. The chips caused us during COVID and everything. Well, why are all these other agencies? Why do they have enough cars? And, oh, by the way, some of your staff, like Chip Hill and the rest of them, they might want to let them drive one of those town and countries on a squad detail for a weekend and then take the 210,000-mile stinking patrol car. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you, Simple Days. Let's go to line 4. You're on there. Who's this?
Hey, this is East.
Hey,
East.
I've got a quick question about this idea of somebody taking over the police department in Montgomery. Wasn't there some discussion back during the Obama administration of federalizing the police? And if we give up our responsibility to have local police, are we opening up ourselves to a larger problem of a police state?
Great question. It's possible, but in particular, this bill that's been proposed by Reed Ingram and Will Barfoot requires the city to maintain their own funding levels.
Okay.
So really the only change is the change in leadership.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But the city still has to help with everything else.
Well, I know in Las Vegas they have a metropolitan police Department,
Mm-hmm.
which is run by the sheriff. And those of us that have watched CSI over the years have been fascinated by that, but I just kind of worry about somebody wanting there to be some big monolithic police force, whether it's state or even a county. I mean, there are benefits to having a strong sheriff, but I don't know if we want to give up our autonomy. And then, of course, I'm preaching to the choir, so I don't know.
Well, and there was one thing that Dr. Thrasher in these emails, and he's what a man. I've been very impressed with his comms and everything he's been throwing out to everybody. But there was one area where I'm like, I need to take a cold shower. This is embarrassing.
Yeah,
ruin these pants. Like he talked about private security like Blackwater, and Eddie knows I've been on this kick for like a decade
Forever
plus.
and a day, yeah.
It's like, why can't certain, especially areas that are having trouble, private property owners hire trained private security to make sure their area is all right?
I mean, it works for concerts and festivals, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that's something to think about.
Well, I appreciate.
Good show. Looking forward to hearing it later.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, and this can be the problem with a monopoly on a police force, is that if the monopoly isn't doing a good job and then starts going in the wrong direction, who else you got?
Kind of like school systems.
Right. Now, we do have overlap, where you do have the sheriff's department,
Right.
you have neighboring police departments, you got the state. Like, there are other layers to this. But for the life of me, I've thought about this for years. Maybe it's my libertarian side.
Yeah.
It's like, I think trained private security is actually a pretty good way to go.
My big pushback on that, well, a couple of them, but one of them is I already pay for the cops. My theory is I shouldn't have to pay cops
Yeah,
twice.
well, yeah, but what if it's still the job isn't getting done?
Right.
You still want your apartment complex protected.
I get it. But then the second part of that is, let's say that we have that private security and he screws up, shoots the wrong person.
Oh, yeah. No, you need a lot of good laws in terms of liability.
Yeah, I got a feeling I would be held liable. And
No, but it's the nature of it. I mean, that's going to happen if you pull the trigger yourself.
I got a backhoe.
You got a what?
A backhoe.
A backhoe?
You can dig a hole. Nobody knows.
Oh, you were. Like, I know the attorney general, right?
Yeah. That's why I'm saying this on the air. So I've said it. So obviously he didn't do it.
Oh, it's one of those things.
Yeah.
You say like an absurd thing you would never do.
Never do that.
Yeah.
Norm taught me a lot.
Right. Yeah. Like I'm not gonna like hit this guy in the back of the head and put him in a swamp.
No.
Like who would do that?
Who would do that?
Yeah, but when I saw that, I'm like, me. I've been singing that song for a long time about private security.
It's funny. I see that, like when we go to Jamaica, we see that. You have a national police force and a regular police force, but every business, I don't care if you're just a mom and pop jerk center or you're a big retail center, they all have security. So that might be, it's a deterrent.
What makes people nervous is competing paramilitary forces, like they're going to start fighting one another.
Yeah.
And like,
I don't see that.
I don't see that either necessarily. Like, actually, it could be they supplement one another.
Yeah.
They know each other. They work
That's
together.
what I figure. They're going to know each other.
And when you look at private security in major spots like hotels, like you're talking about like thousands of people from all different parts of the world, and yet the security's pretty sound. Clubs do the same thing for the most part.
But when I think of, and again, I think of private security, I think of the little nerd at the mall and his little mini scooter.
Oh, yeah, like the mall cop thing.
That comes in my head. But you're right. You're not talking about that. You're talking about legit trained security.
How about security at Disney World?
Oof, that's tight.
You see, like,
although I have a story I can't share on here about that.
Oh, no.
They're not as tight as you think they are, Joey.
What, did you wear that same color green so you built into the background?
No.
You camouflage yourself?
Much worse.
This part of the program brought to you by Bo Goodson of the Goodson Group. And there at the Goodson Group, Bo and his team are ready to help you with, buying or selling your home here in the River region, Montgomery and the surrounding areas. And Bo's been working in this market nearly 50 years now, folks. Man's got a lot of experience under his belt. And not only can they help you with buying or selling, should you want to rent out your home, they have management services there at the Goodson Group. Reasonable fee. That's a really great idea in this market. With the Air Force Base and all the turnover, there's a lot of people renting these days. And the crown jewel there at the Goodson Group is the Bo Goodson Real Estate School. one of the most highly acclaimed in the state because of all the folks that have graduated and gone on to great success. It's a very interactive course. Again, Bo's been through it all over 4+ decades. The good, the bad, and the ugly. He can teach it to you directly. So check out the Goodson Group today. You can always call them at 551-0225. That's 551-0225. And be sure to tell them that Joey, that fella on the radio, sent you. Let's go to Eric the dog. Hello, Eric.
Hola.
What up, dog?
You know, I'll just count down the minutes until we be calling that racist whenever you supply your own police force in areas that can afford it.
Whatever.
Or taking it over from a mayor who feels like you're coming after him some kind of way. I bet he doesn't feel very nicely about that.
I don't know if is this maturity where I just don't care that much about the name calling. Name calling only bothers me if it's like somebody I genuinely love who says a thing to me. And I'm like, hey, that hurt. I care. You know, I respect. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's why
that makes
husbands
sense.
and
Yeah.
wives just go at it.
It makes sense. I got you.
Yeah, but it's some rando or political figure. What it's like, whatever.
But what if they told you had a big head? Would that?
Well, number one, it's not true.
Would it slowly sink into you? Like, maybe I do got a big head.
Why is my head 10
It's
and
not a
3/4?
bad thing in all circumstances.
You got a bobblehead over there.
And that's certainly not true.
Well, you know, hey. But I was thinking that.
Wait, bobblehead or Pez dispenser?
Well, say I, and I'll answer the question. All right, no more serious points. I'm done. Y'all stop talking about the mayor for he sees a shadow and don't show up now. We'll get him all riled
He'll be
up.
here. He'll be here with bells on.
I have every confidence that he'll be there. I don't know what he'll be wearing. I hope it's more than bells.
I believe it will.
Nobody needs to see all that. All right, y'all. Well, you know, I haven't heard the song of Montgomery this morning, although I did hear Terry Adams' alarm going off again.
Yeah.
That's like a weekly thing, man. I hear that thing going off, and I don't know if there's anything going on there or not, but I'm in close proximity to them, so I see that they get delirious sometimes, and sometimes that next morning I hear the old alarm going off. And I don't know if that's just coincidence or what have you. But you know, crime's down. That's important. And you know, this is just, I'm tired of it. I don't want to blame this all on him because it's not all his fault. But he's in charge of the parade, and it's going down this road, and I don't see him making any course corrections. And maybe he is, and maybe it's just taking a long time for it to.
It's got to get worse before it gets better.
Well, I guess, and there's some truth to that, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm ready to see some of the better. Stop hearing platitudes and all the buzzwords and all this other kind of dribble. I want to see some action.
In the words of Lindsey Graham.
Stop playing with it.
Stop playing with it. It's got the bourbon.
I hope you can
get the bourbon.
capture that.
Put the bourbon on it. It's good. All right, well, happy Pride Month. Adios.
Have a
you,
good time, Eric.
Eric.
Eric. Why are you calling him like that?
Eric.
Let's hit a quick break. But first, this part of the program brought to you by James Cole and Cole Plumbing. What a guy.
What a great guy.
James
Great
Cole,
American.
What a guy. Great American indeed, Eddie. And at Cole Plumbing, they can help you with all your plumbing needs, like everyday stuff, like a low water pressure.
Could have that. Maybe you've got a runny toilet. You notice your water bill went from $35 a month to $80 a month.
That's not a good thing.
No,
or it could be, and it could be something like the chain's loose. It's probably not an expensive fix. Or a clogged drain.
Yeah, oh yeah. That ain't no good.
Yeah, if you pour the Drano once and it unstops it, cool. If it doesn't, don't pour the whole bottle. You will destroy your garbage disposal.
Here's another thought. If it's backing up into your tub, go ahead and call him. Call him now.
Right. Of course, they can also help you with major jobs like a big leak. Inside or outside your home, they have this proprietary pipelining technology that allows them with minimal discomfort to you and your property to get in there and solve the problem. So it means they're not going to have to dig up a huge hole in your yard, tear out a bunch of drywall inside.
Make a huge mess.
They can get to it with that precision and expertise. Or maybe you're just looking to upgrade, say to a tankless water heater system or a bidet or any sort of fancy bathroom attachment. They can help you with that there at Cole Plumbing. So check them out today. You can always go to coleplumbing.com or give them a call at 279-8919. That's 279-8919. And just remember, folks, when you have trouble with your bowl,
call on Cole, Joey.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Make 2024 the year you break away from the chain stores and join us here at Adams Drugs. We value your business and want to provide you the best customer service at the lowest possible price. We've been serving up excellent customer service here in the River region for over 62 years.
I made the swap to Adams Drugs and I couldn't be happier. Having a job and then getting 3 kids to all of their activities keeps me busy. I don't have an hour to waste waiting on a prescription. At Adams, they know me and my family. I get in and out in minutes, and when I can't get by Adams, they'll bring the prescription right to my door.
What are you waiting for? Come in to Adams Drugs and let us earn your business. Our friendly and personal staff will talk with you and answer any questions you may have about your prescriptions. Your satisfaction is our #1 goal. Visit us at adamsdrugs.net for the location nearest to you. Adams Drugs is your local independent Health Mart pharmacy. Health Mart, taking the time to listen and care.
This is your roving reporter, and today I am talking with an elk. Hey man, Mr. Elk, I was just wondering, what do elk do to take care of their money? Well, like most smart folks, we call David Erdit. You mean Alabama's most favorite asset preservationist? That's him, man. We call him up at 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. I see. Yes, he is our preferred money man. The money man with the money plan. You've been paying attention. Well, could you give us those numbers one more time? 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. And I just want to try to give you a heads up, man. Oh, what's that? I'm not an elk. Not an elk, huh? Well, then, pray tell, what are you? Knights of Columbus. I am not even going to make a comment. Well, the baby liked it.
Right now, get the hottest offers on the hottest luxury vehicles. Drive into summer with 0% APR financing on new Lexus models. Or drive the new Lexus IS300, only $369 a month. Or the 2024 ES350, now just $499 a month. Drive with the best at Sutherland Automotive. Everybody wins. Get the lowest Lexus payments now at Lexus of Montgomery, part of the Sutherland Automotive Group.
Number 5130706 or C036027. 5,000 miles per year, 36 months with $3,999 due in signing. With approved credit, expires 6/30/24, plus tax and fees.
If it concerns your community, you'll hear about it on News Talk 93.1. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. 334-272-9228. If you want to get on the program, that's 272-9228. Let's go right to phones. Talk to David. Hey, David, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
Pretty good.
You know, my question is this. Do black lives really matter? Because when you've got, probably close to 90% of the murders in this country committed by blacks against blacks?
It's a fantastic question that is not answered and talked about publicly enough.
Mm-hmm.
No. And, and overwhelmingly, probably well over 90% of crimes in general are committed by the black community against either blacks, Asians, Hispanics, or whites, at least in large cities. And
most of the violence is intra-racial. It's like black against black. There is no overlap with some of the gang activity in big cities would say Hispanic against black. But there isn't a lot of, whites and blacks, for instance, going after one another. Occasionally happens, but not very often.
Now, if 90% of the murders committed in America were committed by whites against blacks, do you think that would be talked about?
Yeah, that was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be on national news every single night.
But, we're still talking about it, actually. We're still talking about slavery and Jim Crow.
Sure, yeah, because it's politically expedient to talk about that.
Yeah.
It's not politically expedient to delve into black-on-black crime. That's the reason you will not get black politicians to talk about black-on-black crime.
I would say to the mayor's credit, it was on a different show, radio show here locally. He brought it up again, unsolicited, that he was at the Morehouse College graduation, listening to the president speak, and it dawned on him as he watched 400 black men graduate from what is a pretty prestigious institution, that 95% of the murders and homicides are black men against black men here in Montgomery. Sure. He said that, and I think that's to his credit, and we got to treat it like these. How many kids are wasting away because they're stuck in this?
Yeah. And, and that's the sad part, though, is that because it's a hard subject, politicians aren't generally going to touch it, especially not black politicians, because why? They don't have an answer. And if they don't have an answer, they're not even going to delve into the question. It's like the old adage, you don't ask a question in the courtroom unless you know the answer. So,
well, and it's like if you don't pick a line where to start the history lesson, like you could go all the way back to Cain and Abel. Like you can go there, but at a certain point, we're at where we're at, and we got to address it accordingly.
Yeah, but I can tell you this, that I spent nearly 2 decades working as a volunteer in housing. I've been in some of the worst housing projects in America. And I can tell you this, in nearly 2 decades of doing that, working with at-risk youth, how many whole black families do you think I saw? That means a husband and wife and kids in nearly 2 decades. How many do you think that I saw in that time?
Less than a handful.
1.
Wow.
That was it. It was always a mom and kids or a grandmother with grandkids.
Well, in my humble opinion, a lot of that goes back to the welfare program we got. It is set up to split up the family. And that's
absolutely.
Just, no matter white, black, purple, yellow, it's made to split the family.
Who is that done by? Perpetrated by?
And it was done with intent.
And the Democrats.
It's done with intent.
Sure it was. To have a continuous, dependent segment of society upon a political party, period. Nothing more, nothing less. And this is the end result of it. An education system that's destroyed, inner cities across America that's destroyed, an entire society that's basically destroyed. And there's no turning back at this point because you're on your 3rd and 4th generation of it. So to try and turn that around is virtually impossible.
Well, David, you're making good points, but please forgive me. I don't think I'm going to bring up the Moynihan report with the mayor.
Yeah, probably not.
Like, we got to focus on today. Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, David. See you, brother.
This part of the program brought to you by Montgomery Men's Health, and they're at Montgomery Men's Health. Well, fellas, maybe you're feeling just a lack of motivation these days, especially if you're getting older, like into your 50s and 60s.
Maybe you have that brain fog. You can't quite figure out why.
But it's not just guys who are getting older. There are also guys in their 20s who are starting to feel like, I got that brain fog, lack motivation, no drive, no sex drive even.
Yep.
Like I'm seeing them at weight gain. I didn't start eating more. I'm seeing loss of muscle mass, and like I'm still working out. Mm-hmm. And so you're wondering, like, what's going on? It could very well be low testosterone, low T. So you should make getting your testosterone checked part of your annual men's health routine, as well as a PSA check. It's a great marker for prostate health and a less invasive way of, say, checking it, the old finger wag thing that, folks know so well over 50. So if you really want to fight this, you got to know whether or not you have low testosterone. And the providers there at Montgomery Men's Health will conduct a testosterone-focused lab workup, plus a consultation, and you'll also get a PSA score for only $99. And at Montgomery Men's Health, they have low T treatments. If that is indeed your problem, that can change lives. Men can experience higher energy, better gains in the gym. Brother. Better mental clarity, improved sleep patterns, a faster metabolism, usually even notice an increased libido.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
There's a lot right with it. You can actually book the same day that you call. That number, 440-3663. That's 440-3663. Or go to MontgomeryMen'sHealth.com to book your appointment today.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusada, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. The Supreme Court has unanimously preserved access to a medication that was used in nearly 2/3 of all abortions in the U.S. last year. The justices ruled that pro-life advocates lack the legal right to sue over the FDA's approval of the medication mifepristone and the FDA's subsequent actions to ease access to it. Pro-Palestinian demonstrators have taken over a building where the California State University president has an office. Campus police are monitoring the situation as employees inside shelter in place. A tropical disturbance has brought a rare flash flood emergency to much of southern Florida. Floridians are prepared to weather more heavy rainfall on Thursday and Friday. Stocks remain mixed, the Dow dropping 128 points, the Nasdaq ahead 33. This is SRN News.
Do you owe back taxes or have unfiled tax returns? The IRS won't quit until they get your money. Here's great news, fresh from those in the know. Major changes have happened at the IRS. If you owe more than $10,000, you may be eligible for a 99% reduction of what you owe. Haven't filed a return for a while? Their happy clients are talking.
The IRS was going to levy my bank account, but Guardian was able to prevent that and fix all my IRS issues. Thanks again, Guardian Tax.
Need relief from crushing tax debt? The IRS now has special programs. Guardian Tax knows all about them. Personal or business, this is the fresh new brick you've been hoping for.
We aren't the company you call when you need a hug because you're scared of the IRS. Guardian Tax is the company that wins when you need it most.
Guardian Tax Service is really great to work with. They really help me out. I'd recommend them highly.
Call now for a free confidential consultation. 800-277-7310. 800-277-7310. 800-277-7310.
Rich Thomas weather brought to you by Wiley Sanders Truck Lines. Truckers, if you are looking for green grass, contact Wiley Sanders Truck Lines. In business since 1959 and still growing. Call today, 855-777-9785.
Rich Thomas weather.
Hi, everybody. Alabama is getting hotter and hotter, but still we're dry, and still the humidity is not crazy. Sunshine will dominate today with a high temperature, probably about 94 today, low tonight 72. Then how about upper 90s on Friday and Saturday with more sun? But over the weekend, the humidity will start to increase, triple-digit heat indices, and widely scattered storms by Sunday. From the AMS Weather Conference in Myrtle Beach, Rich Thomas for Blue Water Broadcasting.
Do you have big plans this summer? Dive into summer with an ASE Credit Union vacation loan. Whether you've got a trip coming up, projects at home, or just need a little extra cash, we've got you covered. So don't put your plans on hold. Visit yourasecu.com or stop by and see us today.
From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, here's today's top stories. Authorities have released the identity of the man killed in a police-involved shooting on Interstate 85. Opelika police arrived at a traffic crash just after 2:30 Tuesday, where 33-year-old Damian Jones confronted them with a knife. After repeated commands to drop the knife, Jones charged at the officers and was shot. Montgomery County residents are speaking out against a proposed solar farm. A meeting was held Tuesday night in Raymer where residents raised concerns about the 2,300-acre solar farm to be built near their homes on Mount Zion Road. The law allows solar farms to bypass the zoning process in unincorporated areas like Raymer. State lawmakers Reed Ingram and Will Barfoot proposed a bill Wednesday that would allow the Attorney General or Governor to appoint a new police chief in cities where there is a threat to public safety. The legislation would in effect allow the state to take over local police departments. From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, I'm Sky Mosley.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
During this time of year, you probably expect me to say, the deals are hot at Larry Puckett Chevrolet. Or, you'll look cool driving a Larry Puckett Chevrolet. Well, since the deals are hot every month at Larry Puckett, you need to know that Larry Puckett is currently having a red tag sale. Save thousands on any number of pre-owned cars. All makes and models: Chevrolet, Jeep, Nissan, Toyota, Buick. Larry Puckett has one of the largest used car inventories in the River region region, so you'll have plenty to choose from. Start your summer off with a hot deal by saving a lot of bucks on new Chevrolets or pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. All makes and models at one of the River Region's top auto dealers, Larry Puckett Chevrolet. Their red tag sale won't last forever, so do yourself a favor and save today. Shop them online at LarryPuckett.com. For as long as I can remember, Larry Puckett's customers have been doing the talking. Larry Puckett Chevrolet on Cobbett Ford Road in Prattville.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
After damning politicians uphill and down dale for many years as rogues, vagabonds, frauds, and scoundrels, I sometimes suspected, like everyone else, I often expect too much of them.
Joey Clark.
Welcome into news and views in the afternoon, or if we're calling this thing online, Joey Clark Live. Again, the mayor of Montgomery, Stephen L. Reed, will be joining us in the 2 o'clock hour. Of course, you can listen on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV, or watch us. You can watch us on the Book of Faces. Just search for Joey Clark, or News Talk on Facebook, or on YouTube, Joey Clark Live, or
on
even
Twitter, right?
Twitter X, yeah, at the Joey Clark.
At the Joey Clark.
My profile picture is literally me wearing this stupid hat.
That's good looking hat.
Oh, you've come around.
No, it's just being nice.
Say things that are hurtful Sunday. Hey, let's go to Mr. Pink. Hey, Mr. Pink, how you doing?
How you guys doing, man?
All right.
Yeah, I'm just calling up. I was listening to the conversation, and I like that you guys care, man. I know some people that probably call in really don't care, but I like that you guys do have the conversation. I was doing some research, and I was really trying to, you guys talk about history, it repeats some stuff you don't know your history on. I was trying to find in America, when did black people become so bad? Like after slavery, like what year can we pinpoint that, black people just went crazy, and I'm not being funny. I was actually trying to find some, like, what would go wrong, You guys have any information?
No, I know that things in general started to get bad in the 20s in major cities after the diaspora. So I'm thinking Chicago in the 1920s. But it's too generalized to say what happened with black people, because there's also incredible stories of people being successful even in those eras. So
you say 1920, that was like a Black Wall Street in 1917, 1919, different places, Arkansas.
There's a book I have at home that's called When Harlem Was in Vogue. It's just a fantastic book. And it'll open your eyes to not only the successes in the arts and men who served in World War I, but also the context of when people say, I fought for my country because I love my country, but my country hates me. That book shines a lot of light on that sort of idea.
Okay, I'm going to check that out. And also, like I said, I'm listening. I really think it's all government, man, because who makes all the money from people, being locked up and not doing nothing about crime? It's like the government.
Now, have you heard of Thomas Sowell's? This is the most controversial take because it goes into culture, and we can't talk about culture. But Thomas Sowell's book is White Liberals, Black Rednecks. And
that's an interesting title.
And his basic point is actually the enslaved and then poor black population. Who did they spend most of their time with? The poor white population, otherwise known as cracker culture.
And it's like that right now.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's a fascinating thesis. And actually that book has stood the test of time in many ways. And I like it because it doesn't get stuck in statistics and all this stuff. It's more taking a lot of different perspectives of people throughout the South, throughout the rest of the country, like, say, educators that came down from the North after the Civil War and were trying to educate folks or evangelize to folks, and all the frustrations they had with both black and white Southerners.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. Well, that was just something I just wanted to ask. I know you guys are well read, and just like I said, I wasn't trying to be funny or anything, but I can't find anything. But that was it. I'm still listening. Can't wait to hear what the mayor has.
Appreciate him.
Thank you, Mr. Pink.
Thanks, Mr. Pink. Let's go to Biloxi Gambler. How you doing, sir?
Oh, am I on now?
You're on, buddy.
I didn't hear it go beep. Mr. Pink, hang on. I'm going to answer your question. But I mean, you know, that's historical, which doesn't matter. What Reed and them are going to do, this is current, is called Live Free. It's by Pastor Mike McBride, and it is used in Detroit, Chicago, and Baltimore. And it's about the unequal justice system and keeping people out of prison and marching the streets with pastors and stuff like that. That's the wrong direction. We've got Aniah's law, thankfully. We need to have the law, even for small crimes. If you're in possession of a firearm, there is no bond. I don't care if it's driving without a license. No bond until you go to court. Shoplifting. You got a gun? No bond. Because look what just happened with that girl that is involved with the shooting of Amy Dix.
Yep.
She got a $15,000 bond, and the next day she was arrested for stealing a Glock Model 19.
Yep.
And that's a $10,000 bond. So she'll be right back out if they give her a bond. That's
Well, they're going to hold her
insane.
for the first one until there's actually a hearing now.
Yeah.
The problem is not. Well, yeah, it took what 2 crimes. to
Right.
put her in
Exactly.
jail.
That's
Right.
Exactly.
So the problem, the police that are in Montgomery, as outnumbered as they are doing a good job. It's just the courts are not doing a good job. So you can't blame the police. That's not even the mayor. That's the court system. Even the district attorney said he wanted stronger penalties. Was asking for more serious crimes. So it's we've got to lock people up. You know, as everybody talked about bad about Emery Falmer, he locked people up. If you lock them up, they're not committing crimes. But if you just lock them up and flip them right back, what about the guy that did the shooting at the bowling alley?
Yep.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
He went to jail, got right back out.
Yep.
Up there on Atlanta Highway, shot a bunch of people.
Yep.
Right back out. He's out in the street right now waiting on trial. I don't care. He should be locked up
Agreed.
until his trial.
100%. I agree with you.
Anyway, so I'm not. This live free thing is the wrong way to go. Completely wrong. We've already been doing live free. So that's the problem with that. Now, to answer Mr. Pink's question, I believe it started back under Johnson with the society or something, whatever it was called.
Great Society.
And that's what broke up the families of poor people. You know, there's only 11% black in the United States, and in 2030 it's going to be down to 9%. But because they get a smaller piece of the pie. But they're over 60% in prison. And because I've looked at this, Mr. Pink, it started with the Johnson Great Society. That's what it was called. And the Great Society, the welfare, Medicaid, all that stuff. But then a woman doesn't need a man anymore, so the man doesn't have to stay there. So he has to. And the women, the more babies they have, the more money they make. That's the facts.
Yeah.
And they live in government housing. Now we got Section 8, where it used to be all blocked in one area. We knew where Tulane Court was. We knew where Smiley Court was. We knew where Patterson Court was. Now they're sprinkling them all over the city, and that's part of the issue.
Yeah.
So, and then it went to Jimmy Carter in 1979, which, by the way, your Judge Neapolitano or whatever, he tried to blame it on Bush. But the Department of Education was 1979, Jimmy Carter. And I knew it was a problem back then because I'm an old man. It was a problem back then, and look what the Department of Education has brought us now. So they're purposely keeping people stupid and dumbed down for control purposes. And people are too stupid to know what's going on. It's just like now, well, I say now, it really started big time during Clinton. You know, there's an economic theory that you print money and you sell bonds. That's how they raise money. That's a national debt.
Yep.
And you do that with China. I'm just going to use China as an example. And then you print more money, so the dollar you're paying them back is worth less than the dollar that you borrowed. Mm-hmm. So these other countries are figuring out, and they're no longer using us as a reserve currency anymore, and they're trying to trade in things other than the U.S. dollar, and we went to 2 wars over that. Well, I say 2 wars. We bombed Libya because they didn't want to use the U.S. dollar anymore, and Saudi Arabia brought down the towers on 9/11, and we went to war with their neighbor because Saddam Hussein was not using the U.S. dollar. He was using his own currency to trade in on. So, but now we just let everybody just use whatever currency they want to.
Kind of force the Russians not to use the dollar, but I appreciate it, Biloxi Gambler.
But anyway, so I hope I answered his question somewhat in the limited time that I know I'm allowed. So
appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy.
Well, and then you could point across all demographics and cohorts the liberalization of divorce laws. There are a lot of factors that break down the family. And in fact, if you look at folks who are doing really well, say the top 5% in society, their marriage rates are great and they're pretty stable.
Right.
It's more working class people who are having a real tough time.
Well, a little more economic pressures on your working class. Yeah. And that can happen.
272-9228. Let's go to line 1. You're on there. Who's this?
This is Duke.
Hey, Duke.
What's going on, fellas?
Oh, another day, another $10 in debt.
I want to hear you say something about the what's the thing you say all the time? Hair and the biscuit. About the hair and the biscuit. Yeah, say about the hair and the biscuit one time for me.
Well, I actually had a burrito this morning and there was no hair in it.
Okay.
I switched it up.
You hayseeds, man. Damn.
How you doing, Mr. Joey?
I'm great. How you doing?
I'm fine, man. But listening to the show, great show, man. Appreciate you, Biloxi Gambler, for helping out Mr. Pink. Mr. Pink, I'm worried about you sometime now. You're supposed to know these things, man. Come on, brother, man. You know as well as I know that the white government caused these problems, like my boy just laid out. Hell, welfare, Section 8 all over the city, and all the above, okay? So in most major cities over the years, you know, you got these large housing projects, you know, in Compton, California, and New York, and all these places, you know. So that's where all this crime started in its larger cities, but you got the cable nowadays and got all this internet. Everybody got a cell phone. Everybody wants to be a gangster and a thug, walking around with the pants hanging off their ass. You got the daddies walking around, pants hanging off his ass with his young kids. You know, that pisses me off more than anything right there. I want to snatch them up for them. But, you know, that's where we are, Mr. Pink.
But, Duke, let me ask you.
The white government messes up.
Let me ask you, man. Did they make anybody take it? Or did they put it out there and say, if you want it, these are the rules, you got to go by to get it? So who's more responsible? The end user or the people that put it out there? Who's more responsible? The end user? I mean, it's voluntary. It's voluntary. You can get off of it anytime you want, too. Last time I checked, you can get off of it anytime you want.
when you ain't got nothing to start
I've been there and
with,
I
you
ain't
gonna
have
take
nothing,
something.
and I didn't have to do that. So I
Right,
can buy
right, right.
shoes.
So,
Well, it's
my
both.
family
Is the
grew up
program
on welfare,
presented, hey,
man.
do you want to like take these opportunities? And then also, folks, like, does personal responsibility exist or not?
Thank you.
Essentially.
Right.
You
And
don't have to
a lot of these
take all that.
programs incentivize, say, bad
Right.
behavior.
But I got a friend of mine that grew up in a big housing project in Miami, and he said that he had to fight his way to school every day because they had to walk. This housing project 7 miles and miles long where he lived. Okay, so you know if you got gang guys out there, you got to sometimes pick a side because you're gonna whoop your ass every day until you pick a side.
Yep.
Which one you're gonna? You know what I'm saying? All that. I didn't grow up like that. Most of us didn't grow up like that. But
You know where it's like that elsewhere in our society? Prison.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
yeah.
You're talking about essentially an open air prison.
But I wanna go back to a caller that called in and said that if white people started shooting black folks, you know, we never went around. Black people don't go around shooting white folks. I mean, these people know each other, and you know, gang banging or thugging or whatever they're doing in the streets out there. These street people, okay. Most of the people nowadays doing this crap, okay. And I heard a crazy story that happened in Montgomery yesterday to someone. This guy said that him and the guy was at the intersection, and he waved the guy to go on. You know, they told him that it was cool. Everything's cool.
Yeah.
So the guy went on up the road and turned around in his car and got out the car with his handgun pointing toward us. See?
Yeah.
And by the way, Mr. Pink just got in touch with me and said he already knows the answer. He's just putting the conversation out there, Duke.
Oh, okay. I just was wondering about you, Mr. Pink. Come on, brother.
He's being Socrates. You gotta.
Socrates.
Yeah.
He want to pull everybody in a little bit.
Mhm.
But I love having these conversations, but I get accused of talking about race sometimes too much. I enjoy.
Well, when
talking
you start the
about it because
conversation with the problem was the white government, I mean, you're kind of bringing on the heat.
Yes,
Let's
I
be
was
honest.
wrong with that one. Yes, I did nip it in the bud with that one. But back to my point about the guy was saying that, you know, see, people want to classify black people as a group. See, you got your, you know, like you I used to hear things about children, you know. Okay, Eddie?
Yeah.
I used to hear, you know, they group certain people in children. Say, you must be from children, the white trash from children. Okay? You must be the bad black out of the project over there. Okay? They want to classify people in classes. Okay? But with black, sometimes I feel the white folks want to group us all together.
What are you doing right
Sometimes.
now? What are you doing
I
right
feel
now?
white folks want to do that sometimes to us.
What are you doing right now?
This is why I can bring up my unpopular opinion that race should be about as important as your astrological sign because people are very different.
Yes.
But don't misunderstand me now. There's a lot of great people that grew up in the projects, okay? But the mentality of the guys that do all this game banging and all that stuff, that's their ground right there. That's their stopping ground. Okay, so that's where we're at with some of that.
Class, and I don't just mean socioeconomic class. Class exists, and and there's definitely it cuts across races. I think it's a better marker of people than race for the most part.
But my man that came on and said that blacks ain't saying nothing to black lives really matter. Hell, I can't go out and wrestle with these guys with these thought whatever the hell, they may shoot me too. So I'm in the same pot. I'm in the same pot you in, dude. You know, just thank God that me and the other blacks ain't going around there shooting white folks all the time. Okay, so you say, well, if a white person shot blacks, how will folks feel? Yeah, that's how it started back in the day with the Klans.
Dude, give me an opportunity. Give me an opportunity here. Like, God, thank you. There is not much interracial violence. Thank you, God. Is that good?
Oh boy. You know I get on the road sometimes. I can't do it.
I got to run, man. Eddie's got to run too. Appreciate
Love
it.
you, Duke. See you, brother.
All right.
I can't help love the guy though. Love Duke. I love everybody.
You got to get out of here?
Yeah, we got to run to God's country.
You're going to leave me solo for the next hour and a half.
Don't mean to, and you know it has torn me
I
up
know.
for the last day. So. But you tell him I said hey.
I will.
And tell him make sure he tells his brother I said hey. I really miss his brother.
No, we need to get Joe back on the show.
We do.
Yeah, I thought it was a good time.
I thought it was great.
You get out of here.
All right. See you guys.
This part of the program brought to you by Alabama Home Mortgage. And there at Alabama Home Mortgage, Kim Williams and Madeline Cannon can help you with, well, all your needs when it comes to buying a home. They can start you out with that pre-approval process and walk with you every step of the way, all the way to closing day. You know, a lot of folks get into home buying and they think, well, I got the money and I'll just do it. No, there's a lot of things you're going to need help with, and Alabama Home Mortgage is ready to help you with just that. And of course, they can also help you with a great refinance deal. Could be you're stuck under a mountain of credit card debt. Yeah, I know mortgage rates are higher, 7-8%. The Federal Reserve just recently said they're not changing rates, which does affect mortgage markets and every other rate in our society. But 7-8% is a lot less than 24 or 29% APR on that credit card you're having trouble paying off. But, you know, you needed that air conditioner, right? So at Alabama Home Mortgage, they can help you refinance if you have equity built up in your home so you can get on a sound financial footing. Or it could be you don't have debt problems. You're just looking to reconfigure those finances. They can help you there. So check out Alabama Home Mortgage today. That number 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or you can always visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. There is a difference in mortgage companies. Let Kim and Madeline prove that to you today. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
The Tierce family has been your local Roto-Rooter service since 1964. Drain cleaning, plumbing repair, and those troublesome septic tanks, no problem. Technology has changed a bit in the last 54 years. Video inspections of lines to locate problems is available, as well as scheduling your appointment online. River Region residents have trusted Roto-Rooter for over half a century. You can too. Call today at 272-7130 or visit online at rotorooteralabama.com.
Call Roto-Rooter, that's the name. And legal troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
Don't you love the feeling of coming home to a clean house? Let Southern Bell's cleaning service get your home in order. Families in the River Region trust Southern Bell's because they know Callan and Jesse will show up on time and believe in cleaning the old-fashioned way. They bring all their own supplies and specialize in full-service, residential, commercial, vacant properties, and construction cleanup. Estimates are always free. Call Southern Bells today at 546-0715 or follow them on Facebook at Southern Bells Cleaning River Region.
Are you tired of the mainstream media's biased reporting? Do you want to stay informed on the news that really matters to you? Look no further than 1819 News. At 1819 News, we bring you the latest in Alabama news, politics, sports, culture, and more. We've assembled a team of journalists with Alabama values dedicated to the truth and the truth alone. Visit us at 1819news.com today. That's 1819news.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. Honest News, Alabama Values.
Hi, this is Carl Schmidt, naturopath and owner of the Herb Shop. Listen every Saturday to Winning Wellness and learn from experts in different fields of science and technology how nutritional supplements can help you.
Listen to Winning Wellness every Saturday at 10 a.m.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
The Ridge Thomas Weather Network is brought to you by Alabama's personal injury attorney, me, Johnny Adams of the Johnny Adams Law Firm. Stay weather alert, everyone.
Hi, everybody. Alabama is getting hotter and hotter, but still we're dry, and still the humidity is not crazy. Sunshine will dominate today with a high temperature probably about 94 today, low tonight 72. Then how about upper 90s on Friday and Saturday with more sun? But over the weekend, the humidity will start to increase, triple-digit heat indices, and widely scattered storms by Sunday. From the AMS Weather Conference in Myrtle Beach, Rich Thomas for Blue Water Broadcasting.
For the lowest prices around on flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies, Budget Floors and More is your new best friend. Luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, floor installation supplies, and more with prices lower than the big box stores. Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Del Rey Publix.
News and talk without the static. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Permitless carry. That's been in the conversation surrounding crime. Permitless carry, also called constitutional carry, refers to the right of lawful citizens to carry a firearm on their person or vehicle without first purchasing a permit. The state passed a constitutional carry bill in the 2022 legislative session. The state of Alabama, of course, I'm talking about. According to gun expert and founder of the Crime Prevention Research Center, John Lott, who's been well known, especially in, say, defenders of the Second Amendment. John Lott has been around for a long time. But he served as the senior advisor for research and statistics in the Office of Justice Programs and then the Office of Legal Policy in the U.S. Department of Justice during the Trump administration. He's suggesting that permitless carry creates more violent crime flies in the face of the evidence. Quote, the opposite has been the case, Lott recently told 1819 News. The Attorney General in Ohio did a more sophisticated study, and most of the major urban areas had a drop in gun crime and violent crime after they instituted constitutional carry. Look, there are all sorts of things that affect the crime rate. My own research indicates that policing is the most important single factor for doing that. Montgomery has certainly faced issues with policing. Just recently, the police chief resigned amidst allegations of sexual misconduct. That, combined with a shifting public opinion of the city's leadership, has also led to a significantly diminished police force. Many former Montgomery officers say that they and others left after they believed Reed wrongfully blamed an MPD officer for a 2016 officer-involved shooting that took the life of a black man and sent the white officers to prison. Now, back to John Lott. He says, often what you see is politicians want to blame somebody else. They make policies that make it harder for police to go and do their job. And their response is, rather than accepting the culpability that they have, is to go and blame somebody else. Even if they hire to replace the older police they lose, it's not the same. If you lose somebody who has 15 years of experience and replace them with somebody who's been on the job for 6 months, the new guy is not going to be as effective as the guy you lost. It's going to take several years to make up for that. So there's a real cost to doing that. John Lott continued. He says, it's also related to how progressive the leadership is. Look at Florida, for example. They've had no problem with losing police. They had police moving from other states to move to Florida. When you have it so that police think their job is more difficult for many reasons, you'll lose police in those places and make it difficult to replace them. If you have a very progressive mayor, my guess is you're going to have a progressive DA. And if that's the case, you could have a situation where police arrest someone and nothing happens to them. They get released. So police think, what's the point? Now, while this guy, John Lott, acknowledged that violent crime is a multifaceted problem, and it is, he claims data shows a fairly straightforward way to deter crime. To me, says Lott, it's pretty straightforward. If you want to reduce crime, you have to make it risky for criminals to commit crimes with higher arrest rates, higher conviction rates, and longer prison sentences. You can also make it riskier for them to commit crimes by allowing law-abiding citizens to protect themselves. The irony is that the same people who don't want law enforcement to do its job are the same ones who don't want individuals to be able to protect themselves. So there's going to be a lot of back and forth on this, folks. A lot of back and forth. But when it comes to permitless carry or constitutional carry, my point I made at the beginning of the show, I think, is where I'm coming from. The law is one part of the equation of law and order. And you can pass all the laws you want. If you don't have the force and also great morale, a clear mission, and a true deterrent that provides order so laws can actually be implemented, the laws aren't going to do much. I would love to see, and I believe on Monday we're going to have Chief Deputy Kevin Murphy from the Montgomery Sheriff's Department on the program, I believe at noon on Monday. I'll have to reach out to him so I'm not catching him off guard, but I would love to know how many guns were actually taken off the streets from, say, a random stop and somebody didn't have a permit. Love to see those numbers. And does that later deter somebody from getting a same illegal gun? How many different ways are there to get illegal guns out of the hands of criminals and off the streets? A lot of good questions. Again, I am not the end-all be-all expert on this, but it's something I would ponder as we're going forward in this discussion. Now, another thing I found as I was, perusing what is crime prevention program? What are crime prevention programs? There's a lot of different types. And one that the mayor mentioned at a city council meeting not too long ago is Oakland had a 50% reduction in their homicide rate. And this was, I believe, from 2012 into the current years. But I'm looking at its website called the Oakland Side. And it says Ceasefire, Oakland's gun violence prevention program, is in the spotlight. What is it? A new audit says Ceasefire's breakdown led to a spike in shootings over the past 4 years. Here's how the program works and how it started. Now, this was written in mid-January of this year, 2024. And let's just get into it. For more than half a century, Oakland has suffered a seemingly intractable epidemic of violence. According to one study, between 1985 and 2017, the city saw an average of 107 homicides each year, a level as high as 6 times the state and national averages. Over 4,000 people were killed in Oakland from 1985 to present, most of them by someone with a gun. There were some periods of decreasing violence. One of the biggest drops was between 2013 and 2018, when shootings fell by 20% and homicides by 31%. City leaders have credited this historic 5-year decline in violence to a program that launched in 2012 called Ceasefire. Researchers have found some evidence supporting the claim. A 2019 study led by researchers at Northeastern University found that at-risk people who took part in Ceasefire were less likely to become a victim of gun violence or to be arrested for harming someone else. Even taking into account the broader decline in gun violence nationally, the demographic changes in Oakland, the researchers attributed 31% of the drop in gun homicides from 2010 to 2017 to Ceasefire. This progress rapidly unraveled, though, during the pandemic, as shootings and killings rose to levels that hadn't been witnessed in Oakland in more than a decade. Murders peaked in 2021 when 134 people were killed. Shootings remain high above previous levels, according to police data. Now, a team of consultants who helped Oakland run Ceasefire during the years the city saw big declines in violence say the recent spike in shootings and homicides was caused by a breakdown in the program due to a lack of political support. Combined with a well-intentioned but ineffective reshuffling of the police department's resources in 2021 in the pandemic, which limited the personal contact Ceasefire relied on, they say, the level of violence in Oakland has shot up to levels unseen in over a decade. So to understand all this, including the new audit's findings, it's important to have a good understanding of Ceasefire. What exactly is this gun violence prevention strategy? How are police, violence interrupters, social workers, and community leaders involved? And what are Ceasefire's origins? Less than half of 1% of the city's population is responsible for a majority of gun violence. The key insight behind Oakland's Ceasefire program is that most of the shootings and homicides that happen in the city involve only a few hundred people, most of them young adult men who belong to gangs or other criminal groups. Ceasefire focuses intensively on this population group by identifying and locating these individuals and the groups and gangs with which they're involved and offering them resources and incentives to stop engaging in violence. Those who continue to engage in violence are targeted by special teams of police who are trained in investigating gun crimes and arresting dangerous fugitives. All of this requires a huge amount of precise information about the people most at risk of gun violence. Ceasefire is an intelligence-based, intelligence-driven strategy that Reagan Cunningham, one of the consultants behind the new Ceasefire audit, told the Oakland City Council. This is on Tuesday, this is again in January 2024. So that's one so-called crime prevention program. And when I read that, I go, well, that makes sense. And when you look at cities all around this nation, they've all got this program, that program, these goals, a lot of promises made. Part of me wonders, though, why can't we go for 100% reduction? Is that just being unrealistic? Or maybe if we set a goal that we know we probably won't reach, we'll try that even harder and maybe surprise ourselves in the process and make this a better place to live. We'll see. Like I said, I look forward to the discussion with Mayor Stephen Reed that's coming up at 2 o'clock in the 2 o'clock hour. This part of the program brought to you by Pest Pro Services. And they're at Pest Pro. Ashley and that great team are ready to help you with all your pest control needs. Could be you need a termite inspection done or treatment done. And by the way, homeowners insurance doesn't cover termite treatment or damage, so you should probably get it done early because treatment is much less expensive than repairing termite damage. Or it could be you want your yard treated for those nasty mosquitoes. I mean, those things just coming after you in that sweet meat. Maybe you want to enjoy your backyard, enjoy the front porch. Pest Pro Services can treat your yard and you won't hear a peep from those mosquitoes. And of course, maybe you got an emergency problem with fire ants, a wasp nest that's just unruly that you can't handle. Or maybe you just want a great, trusted local pest control company that's ready to help you across the board to be your everyday pest control folks. That's Pest Pro Services. So call them today at 265-9990. That's 265-9990. Or you can always go to ppsriverregion.com or just search Pest Pro Services on the Book of Faces. When you want to know, call a pro. Pest Pro Services. And be sure to tell Ashley and that fantastic team that Joey, that fella on the radio, sent you.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Summers are fun, so how do you make this summer really stand out? You drive into summer in a new Toyota from Toyota of Montgomery. Make it the most memorable and the most fun summer ever with exceptional offers on the 2024 Toyota Corolla. Now just $207 a month. Or the hot-selling new 2024 Camry, only $285 a month. And the fun for everyone new RAV4, just $315 a month. You don't have to drive in your old car anymore. Toyota of Montgomery is paying up to $5,000 over book value for your trade-in, so you can have the most exciting summer you've ever had. These hot deals on new Toyotas won't last. Drive with the best at Sutherland Automotive. Everybody wins. So get to Toyota of Montgomery today. Online at toyotamontgomery.com. Part of the Sutherland Automotive Group.
Corolla LE TSRP 23,923. Camry LE TSRP 30,703. RAV4 LE 31,173. 12,000 miles per year for 36-month lease with $499 due at signing. $0 security deposit with approved credit. Excessive wear, tear, and mileage will affect trade value plus tax tag title and $995 with approved credit and 7/1/2024.
Now you can add the power of digital advertising to the #1 reach of radio. Let Blue Water's 20 years of local advertising and marketing success show you how. Grow your business with a complete suite of digital solutions, combined with the reach of the most listened to radio group in the River region. Call us or go to BlueWaterBroadcasting.com to find out how we can increase your return on investment. Blue Water Broadcasting, local folks helping local business.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
Sunday, July 21st, 6:30 p.m. at the Montgomery Performing Arts Center. It's Wayne Newton live. Mr. Las Vegas himself, Wayne Newton, takes the Impact stage for one night only, Sunday night, July 21st. Wayne Newton, up close and personal at the Montgomery Performing Arts Center, July 21st at 6:30 p.m. Tickets are on sale now at the Impact box office or online at Ticketmaster.com.
The River Region's first and only news talk station on FM. Live, local talk. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to the program. Now, in other news, this is made national news, but it's, of course, also a local story. The Southern Poverty Law Center has engaged in massive layoffs. Apparently, quote unquote, gutted its staff by a quarter. It's from Caleb Taylor there at 1819 News. The Montgomery-based Southern Poverty Law Center laid off over 60 employees on Wednesday.
A spokesperson for the SPLC employee union said on X Wednesday night that the nonprofit SPLC, an organization with nearly $1 billion in reserves, given an F rating by Charity Watch for hoarding donations, gutted its staff by a quarter. They have over $1 billion in reserves. My goodness. SPLC's decision has a catastrophic impact on the organization's work in support of immigrants seeking justice and its mission to dismantle white supremacy, strengthen intersectional movements, and advance human rights through support of educators. The SPLC union spokesperson said. CEO and President Margaret Hruang announced that the cuts would allow greater focus on racial justice, but failed to explain how eliminating immigrant justice work and anti-racist education work serve that goal. More than 60 SPLC union members, including 5 union stewards, and our union chair were informed that they would be losing their jobs. We are devastated for our union and for our colleagues. Functionally eliminating the Learning for Justice department leaves educators, students, and caregivers without resources and support in building curricula and orienting classrooms towards justice work. If they're sitting on $1 billion, maybe you could help out in the city that you reside in. Maybe they already do in some fashion, but daggone. There's part of me, too, that wonders, because it's election year. Like, think of the amount of not just money, like billions and billions of dollars when you count free media and all the different institutions and players playing in this general election upcoming. But think of all the billions and billions, but also the talent, time, and energy of everybody involved in trying to win power. Seems like our priorities in that regard are screwed up. Because for every politician that makes a promise, Republican, Democrat, conservative, progressive, or even libertarian, though they're always a joke. I know, I'm one of them. No matter the promises they make, it seems like at the end of the day, the number one priority is holding, maintaining, and wielding power. And a lot of our time, our energy, our talent, our money goes down avenues that don't actually solve problems, even if folks' motivations might be or on the side of the angels. But that's fascinating that the SPLC union was out there blasting this decision. It, again, has made national news. And, well, it's always, I always find it odd that this national network known as the Southern Poverty Law Center has long been in my own hometown. Now, another odd story. This is from Outkick. Apparently, no one can find Matt Drudge. Now, the Drudge Report is not what it used to be. Like, I used to refer to Donald Trump years ago as a walking, talking Drudge Report. But not anymore. The Drudge Report, when you go to it, is like perfect, regime propaganda. Everybody's got their own brand of propaganda. But like what corporate media is pumping out there, what established interests in the Democrat and Republican parties and other big interests in the country are putting out there, that's mostly what's populating Drudge Report. There are occasionally weird scientific stories, cultural stories that I like still, but it's not what it used to be. And people kept wondering what happened. Why did the Drudge Report change? But in 2015, The Hill asked the following question. Is Matt Drudge the second most influential man in America behind the president? Drudge's case was strong. From the late 1990s to 2015, the Drudge Report was a de facto aggregator of political conversation. Famously, Drudge reported in 1998 that Newsweek magazine was withholding information regarding an inappropriate relationship between a White House intern and President Bill Clinton. The intern was, of course, Monica Lewinsky. Newsweek published the full story in full following Drudge's report. For more than any individual in the media, Drudge dominates his competitors to the degree that he has no competitors and determines what you watch on TV, what you read in newspapers, what you hear on the radio, and even what you read on the internet about politics more than any single person in American history. Again, that was The Hill in 2015. Newsreaders, though, under 30, have likely heard of Matt Drudge, but are hardly aware of his aura. Drudge, the man, is no longer visible. At the time of the Hill article, Drudge had conducted an interview with Alex Jones. I'm telling you, there are aliens under UCLA, Joe Rogan. They're communing with interdimensional beings using ayahuasca and DMT. Yeah, he did an interview with that guy, for which the media censured Drudge because nobody can talk to Alex Jones. Well, everybody's talking to Alex Jones these days. His public footprints dissipated from there. The Drudge Report is still active. Its patently low-quality interface remains. However, the site's editorial presence hardly resembles its former self. Around 2015, readers noticed a peculiar change in tone. The site turned on Donald Trump without explanation. Notice we say the site, not Drudge himself. It's well theorized that Drudge sold his site in a hush-hush deal to allow someone or some entity to run the site anonymously under his name. It gets weirder. A report claims Matt Drudge recently found a buyer for his reclusive home in South Florida, a location at which no one has claimed to see him in over a decade. This is starting to read like the plot of a novel, isn't it? iHeart recently launched a podcast to find the answers that elude us, aptly called Finding Matt Drudge. Political journalist Chris Moody, the host of that podcast, pleaded for Drudge to contact him. He traveled to Las Vegas after receiving a tip that Drudge used to frequent a particular Vegas casino to play the slots. And yet Moody never found Drudge. However, the Drudge Report did acknowledge his efforts before the finale of this podcast show. I have some major news to announce today, Moody told podcast listeners. Matt Drudge has responded to this podcast, and he did so in the most Matt Drudge way possible through the Drudge Report. Here's what I mean. I was recently a guest on the Megyn Kelly Show alongside our podcast creator, Jamie Weinstein. We talked to Megyn about our search for Matt Drudge, why we started the show, why Matt Drudge turned on Donald Trump, and where we think Matt Drudge is today. Perhaps, but we are skeptical. If Drudge no longer controls his website, the nod to the podcast was likely a red herring. Ultimately, there are 3 statements we can make about Matt Drudge following this series, none of which includes his whereabouts. 1, Matt Drudge does not want to be found. For whatever reason, whether he's fearful, learned too much, or simply burned out, Drudge does not want to be seen. 2, something happened around 2015 when it became clear that Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump would be the 2 nominees for the presidency. Joseph Curl, who worked as an editor of the Drudge Report from 2010 to 2014, told Moody he noticed his former boss suffering from an increased case of paranoia. According to Joseph Curl, Drudge feared the Clinton family was after him in the form of payback for his reporting. Drudge always leaves the country during election day or election season, the weeks before the election, because he was afraid, Curl recalled. Now, here's 3, an very eerie feeling surrounding the state of Matt Drudge. The internet's most enigmatic media mogul, described as the second most influential man in America, who knows far more than any non-government official should, particularly about the Clintons, abruptly vanishes from public light while his sight suspiciously turned on the face of the Republican Party. Nearly a decade later, no one has seen him since. Gotta wonder. And what high-stakes games these are. You gotta wonder if the world survives, what sort of histories are going to be written about this country. Often folks like to, especially in the midst of a political campaign, like to fancy themselves on the right side of history. I don't think that's how it works. I think the histories will be written, some damning, some heaping on the praise. But you got to wonder when you look back at this time that most of us are living through, this upheaval and change in American life that's happened, say, the last 30, 40 years. What are they going to be saying about us? Who will be saying these things? Because it seems I'm not the only one that feels like we're on the cusp of something big. Maybe that something big is political. Maybe that something big has to do more with technology. Things like AI. Maybe it's more of a soul thing, a God thing. Who knows? But it is indeed true that we live in interesting times. And like I was saying the other day after Donald John Trump was convicted with that felony, a convicted felon, right? That we should relish the fact that we get to live here and now. Yeah, there's going to be frustrations. Oh, believe you me, when I start looking at political news on the Twitter, I want to nuke the world. Now, since I became an uncle, a little less so. I think of her and think of my brother and his wife raising that brand new kid into this world. And, well, maybe a kid can survive and live out her best life. So the frustrations will be there. The liars, the games, the propaganda, even the killing that goes on, all that will be there. But if you had to ask yourself, what other time would you rather be living? Maybe some of y'all are hearkening back to, well, bygone ages where things seem simpler, but I tend to believe that the time we live in right now, relish it and enjoy yourself in the midst of the sound and fury. Again, the mayor of Montgomery, Stephen Reed, coming up here in just a few moments, I believe. First, this part of the program brought to you, again, by Josh and Leslie Ryder. They're Dylan Rings. And again, happy 30th anniversary to Josh Ryder. The man is a true artist, craftsman, and he's been doing repairs and working on jewelry for 30 years now. He's so good that other stores go to him. He's so good that everybody says, you got to go to Josh. So whether you're looking for custom design work, repair work, including watch repairs, maybe you want a spa treatment to sparkle and clean up that old jewelry of yours, have it shimmering like brand new. Could be you need an appraisal. With inflation as bad as it's been over the last several years, you probably want to reappraise that family heirloom, the jewelry you have. It's probably worth a lot more than the last time you got it checked out. They could do all of that there at Dylan Rings. They are a full-service jewelry shop. Now, they're out of the office Thursday, today, through Saturday. But you got to stop by next week. So stop by on Tuesday next week. See Josh and Leslie Ryder in person. See that brand new renovated showroom, that great selection. They're going to be able to help you out. So you can always go to DylanRings.com or just search for Dylan Rings on the Book of Faces or Instagram. But I really do encourage you to go by 119 Brown Springs Road right here in Montgomery, just off of Atlanta Highway. It's kind of where the old fun zone used to be. That's how I tend to remember it. Oh, those were the days back working at the funnest of zones. It was a good gig for a high school kid. But y'all be sure to tell Josh and Leslie Ryder that Joey, that fella on the radio, sent you. More news and views in the afternoon, hopefully, with the mayor of Montgomery, Stephen L. Reed, after this.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. Russian officials say U.S. reporter Evan Gershkovich, jailed in Russia for over a year on espionage charges, will stand trial in the Euro-mountain city of Yekaterinburg. Gershkovich has been charged with espionage. There is still no word on when that trial will begin. The summit of the Group of 7 leading industrialized nations has opened in Italy. The United States and European countries have agreed to lock up sanctioned Russian assets until Moscow pays reparations for its invasion of Ukraine. That word comes from a senior U.S. official on Thursday. The move clears the way for leaders to announce a $50 billion loan package for Kyiv at the summit underway in Italy. The Dow is down 85 points, but the Nasdaq is ahead 41 points. This is SRN News.
Are you a business owner? Did you know that there are over 33 million small businesses in America? Small businesses are the engines that power our country. So why is it so hard for them to acquire business funding for things like expansion and cash flow? Bank loans are becoming harder to attain as large corporations grab all the capital. Who's looking out for you and your business? Meet Swish Funding, the business funding platform offering quick and easy funding options exclusively for small businesses. Whether it's funds for cash flow, expansion, or equipment, Swish Funding has your back. And whether it's $25,000 or even $2 million, our process takes just minutes, with cash in your account in less than 24 hours. To qualify, you must be in business for at least 1 year, with an average monthly revenue of at least $25,000. Swish Funding, helping keep America's small businesses running. Apply for the funding your business needs at swishradio.com. That's SWISH radio.com.
Rich Thomas weather brought to you by Wiley Sanders Truck Lines. Truckers, if you are looking for green grass, contact Wiley Sanders Truck Lines. In business since 1959 and still growing. Call today, 855-777-9785.
Rich Thomas weather.
Hi, everybody. Alabama is getting hotter and hotter, but still we're dry, and still the humidity is not crazy. Sunshine will dominate today with a high temperature, probably about 94 today. Low tonight, 72. Then how about upper 90s on Friday and Saturday with more sun? But over the weekend, the humidity will start to increase, triple-digit heat indices, and widely scattered storms by Sunday. From the AMS Weather Conference in Myrtle Beach, Rich Thomas for Blue Water Broadcasting.
At CB&S Bank, we've been meeting the needs of our customers since 1906. Need help setting up new business goals? Our line of commercial loans can help you achieve them. Go to cbsbank.com to find a location near you. All loans subject to credit approval, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
1819 News.
The Southern Poverty Law Center, which is headquartered in Montgomery, Alabama, has now laid off over 60 employees. The layoffs were revealed by the SPLC Employee Union. That union also pointed out that the SPLC management has nearly $1 billion in financial reserves and was also given an F rating for hoarding their donations by a group known as Charity Watch. The SPLC Employee Union says management is choosing to cut down a quarter of its staff rather than retain the employees and stay on mission. SPLC President Margaret Huang says the cuts will allow for greater focus on racial justice. The SPLC Union was on the verge of negotiating its second contract when this latest round of layoffs occurred. The first collective bargaining with the employee union and the SPLC management occurred 2 years ago. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
I'm Amy Beth Schaefer with Alabama Unfiltered Radio, and when I need the news and I need it fast, I turn to Andrea Tice and the Daily Detail. On my way in, it is the most convenient, best way for me to digest what's going on so that I can use it for our show. She tells you what's going on in Alabama that day first and fast. So listen to the Daily Detail with Andrea Tice. Don't miss out.
The Daily Detail is available wherever podcasts are found.
The city of Selma has now put its assistant police chief on paid administrative leave. Natasha Fowkes will be on leave pending an internal investigation which just got started. The reasons behind the decision by the city leadership have not been revealed. In Jefferson County, the Economic and Industrial Development Authority has announced land for a new industrial park. There's over 1,000 acres that has been set aside in an unincorporated area of Jefferson County. That land is to be developed near Gardendale and Morris, and it's not far from Interstate 65. The project is anticipated to bring as many 4,000 jobs when it's completed years from now. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Hello, everyone. Robbie Pelt with Capital City Roofing. If you think about it, your home is your biggest investment in life. Your roof covers your home, so why jeopardize your biggest investment on a roofer you don't know anything about when you can deal with a reputable roofing company like Capital City Roofing? We have an A+ Better business rating and the best manufacturers and workmanship warranties available. We do all residential and commercial roofing applications that are certified through the manufacturer to ensure you get the best material and workmanship money can buy. We also have your project in our best interest before and after construction has been done. Don't hesitate to call us if you have any roofing issues or questions. We will match any of our competitors' price and give you the same great workmanship warranty. We also give free estimates. Give us a call today and let us show you the difference. 277-3311. That's 277-3311. Or you can check us out on the web at www.capitalcityroofing.com. Capital City Roofing. We capitalize the roofing industry.
The Health and Wealth Show. The Health and Wealth Show. The show so nice, we said it twice. Weekday evenings at 6 on News Talk 93.1 WACV. The Health.
Break it up, son. Joke's over, hey?
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon, or as we're calling this thing online, Joey Clark Live. 272-9228. If you want to line up your calls, we only have 4 working lines, so you better get in line. And as promised, right across the desk from me here in the studio, we have the Mayor of Montgomery, Mayor Stephen Reed. How you doing today, sir?
Hey, I'm doing all right. I want everybody to see this this water that you have. This
Liquid Death?
This is not, your Evian. This isn't your...
I like Fiji. I like Evian. I like Liquid Death.
Liquid Death. I mean, that's a heck of a name.
Kills your thirst.
It kills your thirst.
They don't even pay me to say that.
That's great. I'm just saying, I haven't had anything that, in a can this big, probably about 25 years.
That's wise on your part.
Probably about 30 years now. I'm really dating myself. I guess I am old, but that was back in the days of drinking things that probably tasted like Liquid Death, but we're not just
like the Blue Bull, like
water.
little Schlitz or something. Yeah, no, we don't need any of that. So many questions, and so where I wanted
I'll try to be quick.
Well, because where I wanted to start, and the whole show, we've pretty much been talking about the crime issue.
Yeah.
Is first I want to ask what happened with the old chief, with Chief Albert, and then how is the search for a new chief going?
You want to start crime or you want to start personnel?
I think the personnel, in my mind, is a key part of the issue, but there are a lot of things we could get into and turn. It's multifaceted.
So really, with Chief Albert, man, that's been a while. We did an internal investigation, and he decided to resign from that. There are allegations made, some substantiated, some weren't. And he decided that it was best to resign, and we accepted his resignation.
Were you, because I asked you in January if you were happy with his performance then, but what I'm wondering, and kind of I was laying it out earlier in the show, is there's law and order. So you have the law side, and there's a lot that can be done with the law, especially with the state legislature and what you and the council can do.
Yeah.
But I think about the order part, where you can pass all the laws you want if you don't have an effective force that can enforce those things and provide a deterrent and order and peace on the streets. It really ends up being an issue, and I know we're not unique, but the low force levels make me wonder what's going on. Why can't we hire more police, even with the pay raises some time ago and even these recent?
Yeah. So I think we've got to understand that in the larger environment, police shortages are down across the board, right? And so there are more of us looking for police, more of us be in towns and cities, and there are people who are going into public safety, into police work. So, you kind of get to a level where you're cannibalizing one another. You're picking from this law enforcement agency, this law enforcement agency is picking from another one, and it's kind of a situation like that. So whether or not it's in the state, where I meet with the mayors of the 10 largest cities in our state quarterly, all the major cities have shortages there. Or nationally, where I serve on the National League of Cities Public Safety Committee, where we see it even with mayors that are former police chiefs from California to Florida. It's a huge challenge because a lot of young people aren't going to the profession, and we all saw a tremendous drop in retirements after 2020, after the George Floyd incident. So you kind of take that in the last 3 or 4 years, and our recruiting just has not kept up in that pipeline with those that we saw leaving. And I think also part of it is when you're in police work, the the culture is very important, as it is in any work environment. And we have to recognize that police are under a lot of mental stress, a lot of physical stress, yes, but mental stress for sure. And I don't know that we were as responsive to that as quickly as we should have been, nor have we been as aggressive in rolling out incentives for recruits to come here in our effort to try to replenish the pipeline in our police department.
And you mentioned George Floyd, and I think there is sort of as close as you can get to universal in this country these days, agreement that something changed.
Oh, no question.
After the, so I'm more thinking now, trying to dig into why. And I'll just put the nub of it out in my humble opinion. I think there is, even well-intentioned goals, the goal to stop, say, police brutality and to stop mass incarceration seems to butt heads with the goal of being tough on crime. In the same way I think of, say, the Me Too movement, and you saw those hashtags, believe all women, and you're like, well, come on, there are going to be some women that lie, but it's a corrective to all the stuff that was going on before. So I'm wondering, is there at times a divide there that these two goals don't intersect as well as we would like them to?
Yeah, but I think it's up to us in leadership to try to make that happen, whether it's in the corporate space or any area. I mean, society changes, it evolves, and culture dictates that. And so, what was acceptable 5-10 years ago may not be. Some things that weren't 5 or 10 years ago now are. So you have to be able to find that middle ground where that's concerned. And that's what you're tasked to do in leadership. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're in education, doesn't matter if you're a nonprofit or if you're in corporate, much less government. You've got to be able to adapt to the times, and you got to be able to make sure you're providing the type of culture and workplace setting where people can thrive professionally and not feel any type of way personally. And that doesn't matter what department you're in, whether it's City of Montgomery. And it shouldn't matter whether or not you're working in government, in the public sector, private sector. That should be the goal of all of us.
Because I started with the question about the former chief, because I was wondering, have we continued to not keep up with officers? We continue to be at low levels. I've seen the number 220. I've seen 230 something.
Those numbers are false. Those numbers aren't.
What's the number?
Right. The number is higher than that. It's significantly higher than that.
Like how much?
Like a good bit. I'll tell you, and I don't like getting into numbers. I don't like telling the bad guys where we are and how many we have. I've never liked that. I've never thought that was appropriate for people to say in open council meetings, period.
How close are we to, say, 490, 500?
Oh, we're nowhere near that.
Okay.
But we haven't been near that in some time, right? But we are where I'd like to be from my standpoint. We are south of 325.
Okay.
But we're
north of 220.
Yeah, we're much further north than that.
Okay.
Unless there's been a mass walkout the last 48 hours, I don't know about.
Okay.
All right. So
let's hope not.
Yeah. So from our standpoint, I think that again, adjusting to the times and making sure that we are refilling that pipeline, if you will, was not an area that we were as aggressive in as we should be. What we're talking about now, I think, is a culmination of a lot of things, not just what happened in 2020. It's other things. Again, people are finding other lines of work less stressful.
Yeah.
Lines of work, better working hours, to be honest with you, better quality of life. And there are a lot of jobs out there. So there are people who are not just leaving for other law enforcement jobs. There are people who are getting out of the career itself. So we have to adjust to that, and that's going to be done through technology. So it doesn't matter if I talk to Eric Adams in New York, or if I talk to, mayor down in Florida, Jane Castor in Tampa. It doesn't matter. People who've been in policing who are now mayors just talk about how different it is now versus what it was 10, 20 years ago, much less when they were young and coming onto the force.
So in terms of the internal culture at the Montgomery Police Department, I think I've been saying in these airways, one of the most important decisions you're going to make is who you hire as chief.
The most important decision you can make.
Yeah. And so how is that search going? What is that search like?
So the search is going pretty well. We have a national search firm that's very reputable in the people that they bring to the table. The problem is you got a lot of openings for police chiefs. I told somebody recently, I said, police chiefs are now about like superintendents of public schools. The days of them staying 5, 6, 7 years, those days are over. Police chiefs is a grueling job. It's under the spotlight, and you're asked to do more with less in today's environment. And the public is unyielding, whether you're Houston or whether you're Birmingham or Chattanooga. It doesn't matter, or Montgomery. This is the new reality. So the search so far is going pretty well, and I think that by casting a wide net, we'll get a chance to see the best and brightest from around the country, as well as the best and brightest that we have even locally here in our city and in our community. So I'm looking forward to the process. I'd rather not be in it, but now that we are, it gives us a chance to kind of hit the reset button and take a look at what's happening organizationally and to see what leadership style and approach is going to be needed. But before we get to that, I want to share with you and your audience, we will be naming an interim police chief here. And I think that we'll have an interim name in the next 2 weeks. Where we can, then go about really taking a deeper dive into, again, organizationally, what's right and what's wrong, but also in the community, what we can do to make our city safer and what we can do to improve the data, but more importantly, I think even the perception.
Well, and I'd imagine you already, there's a lot goes into this, of course, but I'd imagine you already have in mind like a bottom line mission you want a new chief to pursue.
Oh, no question.
What would that mission be?
Well, one, that you got to be strong in recruiting. Again, we got to, what's your approach to not only bringing in new people into the career of law enforcement, but what's your approach and what's been your track record potentially of bringing in people who are already experienced. I mentioned people cannibalizing Montgomery Police Department. That's good. It speaks to the level of training and expertise and professionalism they have, but we may have to do the same thing. And that happens, right? In the corporate workspace, whether you're an accountant, a lawyer, or a teacher. Well, again, that's in law enforcement as well. The second thing is, do you stand strong around community policing? What are your views on that? That is still a major part of it, which is why we asked the city council, for $6 million in community violence intervention. We're not going to handcuff and jail our way out of this scenario. No city has seen drops over the last 2 to 3 years. And then obviously, what's your organizational approach to maintaining morale and maintaining a positive work culture so that those that are committed to the police department and protecting and serving go out and do that with a clear head and with a sense of purpose in what they do. I believe if you have those 3 core things, then we'll have the makings of the right chief and the right leader. Right. But I want to say this too. Aside from those 3 things, there's no perfect chief. There's never been a perfect chief in Montgomery Police Department. Right. There's no perfect law enforcement, no official, no more than there's a perfect mayor. So, we tend to kind of, have wistful memories of the past that weren't so wistful when you were in them. And I know enough people and haven't lived here long enough to remember some of the things that aren't said about the police department under certain time frames. So we have to kind of keep those things in mind and keep it balanced as well.
Now, in particular, and I understand if we're not going to get too much detail on this, one of my biggest worries about not having as much, let's say, order on the streets is especially this recent triple homicide.
Yeah.
And I know you were on the scene there after the fact and are looking into it. My worry is that we're going to have a much bigger problem than, say, anything we have locally. That this is going to invite in, say, elements that are all around the country. And maybe we're already here to some degree, but even worse aspects.
Well, I think the response of the police department has been great. I think the response of the community at large has been great. And my communication has not been that we're inviting, elements into the city. My communication has been we want to see something done. So we just saw Councilman Mitchell and others, I think, commit to a high reward for that homicide.
$25,000.
$25,000. That number will grow in the next 2 to 3 business days. And I think that as the number grows, I think we'll see leads come in. It's unfortunate, but I think that we'll see solid leads come in where that's concerned. And I think the Latino community wants to know that we have a plan and that we're changing things up. And both of those things are true. And they want to make sure that it's consistent. It's not just, here while it's hot and then it's gone, in a couple of months, that we kind of maintain this. And we're doing that along with making sure that our business partners reach out to kind of help them with some business practices that may make them less of a target, if you will, than they are right now.
Yeah, because I think as I started looking into the crime prevention and intervention programs, I'll admit, when I first saw $6 million more, when I didn't think we had a money issue in terms of getting officers, it was other issues that were causing recruiting. And then I heard you say at the council that it'd be modeled after Chicago, Oakland, Baltimore. My knee-jerk reaction is like, what the heck is this?
Mm-hmm.
As I started looking into it, I just read before you got here, it was an article written out of Oakland in January of this year, and it was talking about their program called Ceasefire.
Yep.
And it seemed like something in the last couple of years kind of went off the rails. The ceasefire numbers started to go back up in terms of homicides in Oakland. But from about 2012 to 2018, maybe even a little further, you had a massive drop in homicides. And I was trying to understand what is a crime intervention program.
Yeah.
One part of it that really made me wake up is, okay, I'm thinking of folks who are adjacent to gang activity and they don't want to be part of it. And you were able to help them out, number one. I'm thinking of folks who are maybe in gang activity, but you give them other incentives not to engage in violence against one another. And then for the folks who just don't want to change, this is their life, you have special police units that know how to deal with gang elements and seize guns and these sorts of things. Is this about your understanding of crime intervention?
Yeah, it is. But there's a relationship building aspect of this, and taking people who have been in that life or who are recently out of the criminal justice system, who are really trying to get their lives on the right track, back in the communities where they're familiar, and they're able to talk people out of this lifestyle. They're also able to provide those on-ramps and say, okay, Mayor, you tell me you got a shortage out here at some of your Hyundai suppliers. Well, my folks don't know how to get those jobs. I can get them out of the game. You can show them they can make money out here. Well, listen, I solve two problems with that, right? I get that young person out of a life that's going to end bad one way or the other, either in jail or with a violent interaction that may be fatal. And I get someone into a career, into a work, a job that they have never seen anyone on their street, in their block doing. And now they see that there's a pathway that does not involve illegal activity. And those are things that our economic development announcements don't cover. Those are things that our public school successes, education successes don't cover. Those are things where you have to have people on the ground, embedded in the community, one by one, not afraid to go in these hot spots and have the sit downs with these who are most at risk to be a part of this behavior. And it's not only been shown to work there. Baltimore has seen steady decreases in the last 3 years, well over 24% cumulatively when you look at their work that they've done. Newark, New Jersey, very similar. And so we tend to hold on sometimes, and it's bad for a city, to things that happened a decade ago. Now, we don't do that with almost anything else, but we do it there. Alabama's the third most dangerous state in the nation. We're not the third most dangerous. We're not even in the top 10 of the most dangerous cities in our state. So we tend to absolve the state of a lot of things, and we tend to hyper-localize the criticism, right? So the question also has to be what's being done at the state level to get us off the top 5 as we're poking fun at big city USA and say, well, as a state, you are the third most violent in the country. So we got to think about, those leaders too, and those policymakers, and not just the mayor and the council, but where are those folks at the higher level that also have some responsibility and culpability in this. And so that's why I look forward to their support. So I look forward to their partnership in this, because these are models that we have researched for probably a year and a half, maybe even a little bit longer, a year and a half, somewhere between a year and a half and 2. And we're ready to implement this, and we feel like we've got the people on board to really go out and carry it to the level that we need to provide the relationships, provide the information, the intervention and prevention, and then certainly to reduce the lack of response when things do happen. Because when you look at some of these non-fatal shootings, and we're down around 7% now year over year. We were higher just before May. May was a very bad month. Hopefully we can get that number back up. But when you look at where we are even in non-fatal shootings, which was a statistic we did not keep up with until I came into office and I asked for it, those are things that we really want to reduce. Is kind of that revenge, that kind of, well, I'm going to retaliate. And when these programs are implemented correctly, those retaliation numbers go down tremendously.
Well, and like one that just shocked me is the 32nd homicide this year.
Mm-hmm.
And this is more rhetorical, and we maybe could spend a long time talking about it, but how does a 12-year-old girl get shot at 2 a.m. in Chisholm?
One, again, too many people having too many guns who should not have them. And a 12-year-old girl should not be shot. And what we have to understand is sometimes family members bring trouble onto themselves. That part they know, but the other part they also know is they bring it onto other members of their family or other folks in the community, which is unfortunate. And those are the people who don't have they don't have the option to move to another part of the city. They don't have the financial means to, understand they've got a neighbor. And in some cases, they don't even know how to reach out to us, which again, we have to do a better job of from the city and saying, hey, if you see some things going on, let us know. And we have to make sure that we're there, again, not just in the nick of time, but we're there consistently to identify where some of those areas are. But certainly was an unfortunate scenario, and it's something that is we've seen just far too often around the state. It just, it really pains you when you see that.
And again, folks, we're talking to Mayor Stephen L. Reed. there's something that struck me as poignant. You said it on another show here locally, that you were recently at the Morehouse graduation ceremony.
Yeah.
And, you were seeing 400 young black men like yourself who cross that line and are probably going to go on to do all sorts of great things.
Yeah.
And then you said, I have to keep in mind that 95% of these homicides are young black men killing one another.
Yep. What
is that divide? Why is that it's a reality not just here, but around the nation?
Sure. I think it's a cultural issue. I think it's a lack of regard for life. I think it's a lack of hope, lack of opportunity. And we have to do a better job ourselves modeling, what works, telling our stories. That's why I try to tell, so many people, whether I'm speaking in a venue like this or certainly in person when I'm talking to young people about life being up and down. And, I didn't just get here to this place, in the snap of a finger. Got a lot of friends, got a lot of family that was in different parts of the criminal justice system. And I try to tell that story so that they can see a level of connectivity there, that it doesn't have to be permanent because this is what you've seen, this is what you've done. Now, certainly, I grew up blessed and very much exposed to a lot of great things in this community. Not everyone does. So for those that are on the margins, we have to find ways to reach them earlier. You'll be hearing us talk more about our parks and recreation initiatives as a facet of that. More involvement from our public safety as well, and then just more mentorship from real mentors and from people who really want to get in those spaces to talk to them. And then I'm not putting in any inordinate blame here, but the adults in their lives also have to play a better role than what they're playing. Yeah. And they have to, we can have the Community Violence Intervention Initiative, Together We Rise initiative that we're going to go into more detail on in these next few days. But those closest to these young people have to take some responsibility that says, I care about you enough to show you a different way and to try to connect you to something that is not all that I may have known and all that I may have done. And that takes community, and that takes a lot of us really having those tough conversations, from basketball courts to barbershops to chat groups, to anything else, and making sure we're talking to those young people and we're talking to them about where the opportunities are without wearing a shirt and tie. As I like to tell them, you don't have to wear a shirt and tie. That's not what you like. You don't have to sit in an office if that's not what you like. There are a lot of great ways to be a responsible citizen and to be someone who's a asset to our community than having a title or being in some corporate space. You can do that and be a example and be a mentor to somebody else. And that's what the message we have to get to these young people and tell them ultimately disagreements are as old as time. How we settle them has been what's changed. And every disagreement doesn't have to be settled with a gun.
Well, amen to that. And some folks have the mentality, if I don't go after him, he's going to come after me first.
Absolutely.
And,
far too much.
Yeah. We got to hit a quick break here. When we come back, just to preview the next question, I opened the show laying out in detail this. You mentioned the state earlier, and I know the relationship has been somewhat contentious with the state government on certain things. The proposed legislation pre-filed by State Rep Reed Ingram and State Senator Will Barfoot, and it is essentially gives the ability to the Attorney General or the governor to appoint an interim chief. And so on the other side of the break, I would love to get your reaction. We'll get into that.
Sure.
And in general, the all of government approach, because I think I'm like everybody else been seeing Dr. David Thrasher's emails. I think his number one and the one he sent out is we got to stop pointing fingers. And I think, in fact, to solve a problem like this, it's about right.
Yeah.
Though I would say, Dr. Thrasher, there is always politics, but we'll be right back, folks.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Hi, this is Bo Goodson from the Goodson Group and an update on the real estate market in the River region. Sales of homes for the last 5 months will top 1,900 homes. Even though sales are slightly lower, the average sales price is still climbing. First-home home buyers comprise over 34% of all sales, with no slowdown in sight for them. We now have more homes on the market in all price ranges, which gives buyers more choices than they've had in over 2 years. Some helpful suggestions for today's home buyer would be: 1. Work with a local lender for your loan approval. 2. List 3 must-haves for your new home and seek to find properties to match your needs. 3. Work with an experienced and knowledgeable real estate agent to help you with your search, your showings, and receive advice on offers and negotiations. 4. Always use a licensed recommended home inspector when you find the home you choose. For all the details, call Bo Goodson at the Goodson Group at 221-2883 or 551-0225.
Right now, get the hottest offers on the hottest luxury vehicles. Drive into summer with 0% APR financing on new Lexus models. Or drive the new Lexus IS 300, only $369 a month. Or the 2024 ES 350, now just $499 a month. Drive with the best at Sutherland Automotive. Everybody wins. Get the lowest Lexus payments now at Lexus of Montgomery, part of the Sutherland Automotive Group. Number 5130706 RC036027. 5,000 miles per year, 36 months, with $3,999 due in signing. With approved credit, expires 6/30/24, plus tax and fees.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com. This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number 1 in the number 2 business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Live, local talk. The River Region's most trusted voice for news and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. Again, in the studio with me, we have the mayor of Montgomery, Stephen Reed. And where we left off is this recent suggestion of the state intervening in departments. And I think the true linchpin of it is force levels. I mean, they have to take into account crime statistics, but I think the main thing is force levels.
Yeah, but the state just started hiring at Aaliyah in the last year and a half. I mean, they might want to take care of their own business before they try to tell mayors how to run cities. You want to run cities, come run cities. But to have two legislators from a town that doesn't have a police department talk about what mayors need to do, I mean, that just strikes me as odd. It really strikes me as a level of irony. That's a better way for me to say it. So, come with some solutions. That's not a solution. Come with some solutions that help cities and that help mayors around this state deal with reckless laws like the permitless carry bill that they passed, and these other unfunded mandates that they hand down to cities and counties that people at the local level don't understand because they don't follow state politics, because so much of it is done, a process that just people don't truly understand. I was a page at the state legislature. I worked in the state senate for lieutenant governor. I was government relations, so I understand that probably better than most. And probably better than most mayors. So I understand how, these things work. I just think it's disingenuous for, legislators to do that when, again, it smacks me of legislative overreach and preemption of local governments making local decisions. In particular, when you start getting into personnel, that just to me is not the role of the state, and I'm surprised that people who believe in small government, believe in home rule, would propose such legislation.
Why is there a difference? It seems like, for instance, I'll just say it, the Montgomery Sheriff's Department's not having a hiring problem, but MPD is.
Well, PD, I think, is different. Police work and sheriff's work is a little bit different. Two, I think, what the day-to-day job, and I was at the county for 7 years, work with the sheriff's department every day in my courtroom, and every other way. It's different in terms of what that first level of priority is, versus what you do in the police department. And that's not just Montgomery. That's, really across the board. I think the other thing is certainly consistency helps. So when you've had a sheriff, and sheriffs tend to stay kind of like judges. Once they get in, they tend to be there for a while. That helps too. You can establish that culture, and I think Sheriff Cunningham has done that. And before him, you had Sheriff D.T. Marshall prior to that. Versus, police chiefs, again, as I said, like superintendents, they don't tend to have that longevity. It's a lot harder to keep that longevity in that police chief role than it is sheriff, in part probably because you're answering to a mayor and you're answering to a city council, and you're in a space where that sheriff has that 6-year term and she's answering, to the people of their county. So a little bit different there. But, the great thing about where we are is, we have the collaboration between the police department, we have the collaboration between the sheriff's office, and we have the collaboration between the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, as well as our federal partners. So there is a level that people may not see and may not recognize, that the law enforcement community has stepped up in a way that some of the old lines of, hey, this is their jurisdiction versus mine. It's like, hey, let's get the bad guys. Let's make sure people are safe, and we'll figure out the other stuff later. Because at the end of the day, the rank and file person doesn't really care about that. They really want to make sure they're doing the right thing in the best way possible.
Now, do you think there is sufficient cooperation? Kind of what I asked about earlier. Name people be familiar with. If MS-13 is trafficking all throughout this corridor, which was 65-85, or other elements, other gang elements, is there good cooperation across law enforcement to handle? Because that's a huge issue.
It is, and we stepped that up over the last 2.5 years, and we have seen success already. We had a law enforcement agency that had never prosecuted a RICO case. Well, that changed in the last 2 years. That's significant, because now you're talking about federal charges, and we can do with those folks once they're found guilty. A lot different than if they're just brought up on state charges, right? So we've seen that collaboration, and I think that it is improving, and it has even spanned some of the changes that we've had at MPD, because there's a commitment to make sure that everyone is working together, and there's a commitment to make sure that, bad people aren't taking advantage of what's happening in the job market around law enforcement to their benefit. And so there's still work to be done, but we could not ask for more collaboration from our local, state, and federal partners.
Well, and moving more to the law side, because the state legislature can pass a lot of laws that I think would possibly improve situations. Again, I think the number one problem is force levels. And if you can write all the laws you want, if you don't have the people to enforce them in an effective way, it's like a letter to Santa. I hope kids aren't listening. So on the law side, though, is there any need?
I'm going to disagree with you,
Okay,
though, because
go
I'm
ahead.
going to say that part of this issue is the amount of guns that are in communities and how they're in communities. So again, we make these generalities of what's dangerous and what's not, and the type of guns, right?
And how do you get the guns out of those people's hands without a law enforcement element that can take them?
Well, some of it comes down to, again, what's allowed to be sold and to whom. All right, what's allowed? Well, what can we get on a traffic stop? So to your point, certainly force levels there, but some of it is what's allowed on the streets here versus what's allowed and who has access to get it. That's the difference here than other states. And so in some states, we see some stronger gun laws around assault rifles. A little bit different than what we have here in most of the southern states. Those are things that, we also have to factor into this level of violence that we have seen. And I just think there's that, along with force levels. But I'll also say that the bail and bonds process plays a role in that. We just picked up somebody again in a shooting who was out for a capital murder charge that they had 3 years ago. So, the judiciary plays a role in this. Our men and women are doing a good job at PD. So I think there's a lot of areas where we can be beneficial. You mentioned Sheriff Cunningham, and I mentioned this in the city council meeting the other day. Right. Sheriff Cunningham, the Alabama Sheriff's Association, the Alabama Police Chiefs Association, the DA's Association, the League of Municipalities, the Alabama Big Ten mayors were all against the permitless carry bill. We all got run over on that. And Sheriff Cunningham is quoted, and I shared that at the council meeting, as saying this is going to put the guns in the hands of people who should not have them. One problem. The Big Ten mayors, collectively, we said this is going to lead to higher homicide rates. Another problem. So these are things that 2 years ago we were talking about, 2.5 years ago we were talking about, were not good ideas, was not good policy as people who have to deal with it and know the backstories of it. The legislature is far enough away from it that they can pass a law and say, hey, we're not responsible. Go talk to your town council or go talk to whomever else. We have to deal with that at the local level. So we also have to, again, make sure that, the same level of interest that we have at a city council meeting, which is great. I welcome people to come to all of them, watch them all. I love seeing the number of views that we have now. I think people knowing more about their local government is better for all of us.
Sure.
Make sure you're doing that with the state legislature, and make sure that you talk to your sheriff, your district attorney, and those representatives when gun laws like these are being passed, because they tend to have a more drastic impact on those of us who are on the ground dealing with it every day than those who come to the state legislature for 30 legislative days out of the year.
Well, and I'll probably ask this question, and I talked to him before the law was passed. I have Kevin Murphy on, Chief Deputy there for the Sheriff's Department folks, on Monday. I'll probably ask him the same thing. But do we have numbers on the effect of permitless carry, or how many guns were taken from people?
Oh, yeah. So
at a random traffic stop?
I can get the stat back to you. I don't have that point, but I mean, we're almost half of guns that we would seize and arrest.
And it seemed
down.
also to me that the homicide rate went up in this city and across the nation before that was passed, too.
Well, listen, in this city, which is my primary concern, you saw that jump. All All right. So, and you also saw non-fatal shootings jump from 21, 22. You look at 23, and now getting into 24. So therein lies a correlation, from my standpoint, in terms of what we're seeing here. Again, other cities have been able to have more preventative measures. So we've seen some of those things kind of go up and down. We just started Office of Violence Prevention, which we fund at $600,000, and it probably should be at a few million, because it was kind of a trial run here, and I think they've done a great job. But we don't have near what we should have for a city of size, which is again why we're making that ask.
Yeah, and on the bond bail issue, what sort of improvements to that system? I've heard some saying keeping maybe the bail companies have some liability. Like, what are you imagining that could strengthen that system where if you're committing a heinous crime in Montgomery, you're not going to be back out on the street?
I think that we have a very strong state legislative delegation. And again, I think that's also why, Representative Ingram and Senator Barfoot would have done well to talk to our other members of our local delegation to come up with solutions, and not a wide-ranging state bill that impacts mayors from Madison to Mobile. I think that they, along with our judiciary and our DAs, can help us find a solution where bails and bonds are concerned. I understand the old practice of bonds being so high that people who are economically or financially challenged could not get out. So we have to find out, all right, was there an overcorrection? And that's a question, not a statement. And if there was, then how do we address that for someone who's a repeat violent offender? Now, we're not talking about your low-level drug user. I'm not talking about that person. We're talking about how do we address the repeat shooters and somebody that is brought out on a capital murder charge and then can get out and be out for 2 to 3 years, and we're picking them right back up. That is a problem. And ideally, through these initiatives and programs, we reach that person, that at-risk person earlier, to keep them off that path. But if we cannot, then we cannot have them back in the streets and the communities where people now have to feel afraid.
And final question, and I'm running out of time here. I know you got other interviews, other things to do. And I'll zoom out. And this is more, I guess, the political divide, the ideological divide that exists in our country. Sometimes when I hear more liberal folks, and the best of them, I'll put it that way. I'm not talking about the usual partisan BS that goes on with people, but the best of them. It seems like there's an acceptance, like Chicago has a plan that 50% reduction in the homicide rate in the next 5 years, something like that. I'm like, why isn't the goal 100%?
My goal is always 100%. My goal is that no one is shot, maimed, or killed, all the way through. I think, we certainly are practical about that. And the goal is you got to start somewhere, and you want to start aggressive. You want to start with something that is, measurable and something that I guess is realistic, right? But that is always the goal, is to eliminate these things, these issues. And again, it's not even just to pick on, the big city or the mid-sized city. Any community that is seeing it, relative to its size, you want to see them get help. And so when I look around the state of Alabama and I see cities, having these challenges in law enforcement, you want to figure out a way you can help them as you try to help yourself in your own community, because what that mayor, that police chief or that sheriff or those police officers are dealing with, and certainly the people that live there.
It's just sometimes it sounds to me like this. People would say this is the cost of freedom. This is sort of like if you're going to protect human rights. It reminds me of the old Camille Paglia line that liberals and a lot of different types of liberals see the government as a tyrant father, but want it to be a nurturing mother. And I think I worry sometimes the therapeutic approach, which looking into it just a little bit last night, I think there's a lot of stuff that makes sense with the crime intervention. But there are times where there are some folks that are intractable, and
we agree.
You don't do these things on our street.
Yeah, no. We agree on that all the way. And again, I don't think you have to replace one for the other. What we have not had in this city ever has been a fully funded effort towards community violence intervention. We just have played reactionary style of law and order, and that's not the way to bring down these rates, and that's not the way to make our communities safer.
Well, we're pretty much out of time here. I appreciate your time. We do need to do this monthly. Now, we said this in January.
Yeah, I can't believe when you said that. I hadn't been here since January. I mean, I've been busy, but I didn't know it had been near that long. So, yeah, we'll get on a better schedule because we got to talk about the good news, too. We didn't talk about Meta. We didn't talk about some of the great things that are happening in the city and in this community. So we got to make sure we share that good news. And hey, U.S. News and World Reports has us the second best city in Alabama, up 40 spots.
All right.
Share that good news with the folks.
Well, and I asked Andrew Szymanski yesterday, are we going to get rid of twice a week pickup? And he just went away from the camera and all this stuff. So no, anytime you want to come back.
The council. Yeah, that's one of theirs. All right.
Well, appreciate you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
We'll be right back, folks.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
Hi there, I'm Madeline Cannon with Alabama Home Mortgage. Getting pre-approved is the first step towards home ownership. People are often scared or nervous about taking that first step, but I'll tell you, it's nothing to be scared of. At Alabama Home Mortgage, we will take the first step and every step along the way with you. Call us at 567-4223. We will gather the information needed to tell you exactly what you qualify for. After a call to Alabama Home Mortgage, you will know what price point to shop for, what down payment is required, if any, and what your monthly mortgage payment will look like. We take all the guessing out of it. Then, when you find the house you want to make your home, you are ready to make an offer. Along with your offer, you will submit your Alabama Home Mortgage pre-approval letter. This shows sellers that you've already taken the steps necessary to ensure that you qualify to purchase their home. Wait no longer. It's time to take that first step together. Call me at 567-4223 or start the process online at myalabamahomemortgage.com.
That's Alabama Home Mortgage because, folks, there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586-36-8, Equal Housing Lender.
What's your biggest investment? More than likely, it's your home. So treat it that way when you hire a painting contractor. With PBS Painting, there are no gimmicks, no $99 specials. Just quality painting and someone who treats your home with the same respect that you do. At PBS Painting, we have been painting for years and look forward to many more years to come. With PBS Painting, the job gets prepped properly, whether it's cleaning, scraping, or priming. We always use quality products, which is a must for a quality paint job. So if you're looking for a painter that doesn't need upfront money and is on the job at all times, then please give me a call. Scott Bowers and PBS Painting, 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122. Look at some of our work on Facebook at PBS Painting Montgomery.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
If you're new to Medicare, the ins and outs can be complicated. At Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Alabama, our local advisors are here to help answer your questions, and we're here to help you find a Medicare plan that fits your needs. Visit bcbsalmedicare.com or call 1-844-627-5612. Now, Medicare, that's focused on you. Blue Advantage is a PPO with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in Blue Advantage PPO depends on contract renewal.
The River Region's News Talk Station. News Talk 93.1, WACV. News Talk 93.1.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Let's go right to the phones and talk to Ray Bowles from Bradville Carpet. How you doing, Ray?
Man, I am great.
let's talk about a water damage. We don't talk about these enough. So I had a customer in Tallahassee that I went to yesterday, had a small water damage, but yet the floors are all going to have to be replaced. They came over and picked up the floor yesterday, and we've got them on schedule to put the house back together on Tuesday. So less than a week, really about a little less than a week from the time it happened to getting it fixed. That's not bad.
That's not bad at all. That's a quick turnaround. So I'm sure when something like that first happens, people go, "Oh, what am I going to do?" But Prattville Carpet's there.
That's it. You're not even thinking flooring. And all of a sudden, flooring is on your mind, and that's the only thing on your mind. So if you suffer a water damage, call us at 285-8117. We can tell you who to call to get the water out, the correct water remit places, and then from there we can put you back together really, really quickly.
Again, that number is 285-8117. And be sure to tell them when you call 285-8117 that you heard Ray Bowles on the radio with that Joey fella.
Call us today. We'll come out and give you a free measurement.
I appreciate it as always, Ray.
All right, guys. Thank y'all. Bye.
Well, we only got about 2 minutes left. What a show. What a day. Somebody just texted me, I have a headache. I'm feeling all right. They're making a beer run. And some of these I'm not going to repeat on air. 272-9228 if you want to get in within the last minute. But we pretty much have things wrapped up today. And there was a lot going on in the world while we were talking more local issues. The Federal Reserve said they're not going to move interest rates. The Supreme Court is still going to struck down a challenge against abortion pills delivered in the mail. The Supreme Court is keeping that legal, and many more decisions to come from the United States Supreme Court. I think it's like 30-something cases that are a big deal. A retired NYPD inspector slamming the new FBI crime stats. You can't trust these numbers, saying they're all down. Others, this one really, I was taken aback when I saw this. It's from Pew Research. It said 59% of Trump supporters said society is better off if people marry and have children, versus just 19% of Biden supporters. What the hell is that? And again, this is not Rasmussen that's gone a little crazy. This is Pew Research. 59% of Trump supporters say society is better off if people marry and have children, which that number should be higher. But just 19% of Biden supporters think that? The divides in our society right now are just sometimes bizarre. Boggles the mind. I thought these were basic things we all agreed on. But this is the world we live in, folks. Like I said, these interesting times, relish them, so to speak. I got to get out of here. Tomorrow should be fun. Friday show. We'll have a full studio. Looking forward to it. But in the meantime, y'all enjoy Happy Hour with Greg Vidal. He's next.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusada, News Talk 93.